Okay, I believe it is 6:32, so we'll call the the general business meeting to order. And if you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to accept the minutes. I'm going to ask us to accept the minutes for February 9th. You literally just got February 23rd, so I would like to table that till our next meeting, if that's okay. So I'll take a motion to accept the minutes from February 9th.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Amy. Second?
Second. Could
Thank
I
you.
make
Is that
just one correction?
Sure.
I don't see it. This is fabulous. This is, oh, okay. It was just one line on page 4.
Thank you.
Where it says trustees who inquired how utility bills and fees are calculated and didn't like that. It's just stated that. I didn't have any opinions about the fact. It's just that it does create a big jump in costs. So, oh dear, is that me?
Oh, God.
Shut it off. Shut it down.
Shut your, close it down. Close your computer. It's a spam hack. Someone joining it for fun, showing something gross. Yeah. Just turn it off.
Oh, it's happened before and we've been lucky.
Yeah.
We've been.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's just part of the hazards
It's
of
available,
public
so that's
meeting.
fun. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
We will not be on Zoom tonight.
Even I thought it was gross.
Yeah, no, it's bad.
Wait, I want to know what your threshold is now.
They got hacked.
No, that's not Panda. That's
It's
Zoom.
not Panda, that was Zoom.
Just Zoom.
Pretty high, I've never had that.
So we're just not beyond Panda, and so I don't need that. Nobody needs the computer.
I know, but I wonder if it's still running, because we didn't leave the meeting.
Oh, okay. So
Oh my
I can.
goodness.
I don't have the passcode to get in.
What?
Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We need to know.
That's the first time?
The same video popped up in the town of Poughkeepsie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's someone was just.
It's someone that's just yeah.
No, we need to know how it happened.
Wow.
No, it happens all the time
We need to know why.
You'd never find out.
because they're public
Yeah, okay.
meetings and somebody
Because
Someone is
I have to
trolling.
accept everybody, right?
it happens.
It was a name. How do I know that they're not a resident?
It's public meetings. Boards of ed have had this happen, and yeah.
Yeah, just
Okay.
for,
It's now-
you know, for.
It's now ended.
You could trace the IP address and you'd still never.
Yeah, it's
If they don't want you to find out, you need them.
Are allowed to.
we have to.
Do we have something?
I'm not.
No,
We're
you
not.
don't. It's not for.
It's not
restricted
required.
extenuating circumstances.
Because we're all here.
There's a town trustee that
One of their
left
town.
because we told him that he could do it at home.
That, which is fine.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let him
You
know.
have a
Just let
contact.
him know that he can, the
Panda will be up within.
tomorrow.
Yep.
Yep.
There you go. Okay, well, that was exciting.
That was fun.
She says, for she.
More fun for you who got to see what was up there.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
not fun.
I don't think
Fun's
that will
definitely
go
not the
away.
word. Well, I knew better than to look, so.
Page 4.
Page 4.
Yes.
So, Fran, you
Yes.
indicated,
yes.
you said, inquired about utility bills and fees, how they're calculated. And you wanted, and just said, maybe you just want to say that the 150 gallons a day equals 1 BU creates big jumps in costs. And
It's-
eliminate the big doesn't like.
Yeah, just stated that instead of didn't like. Everything is.
Is that all right? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, with that adjustment, all in favor?
Aye.
Great.
All right, sorry.
Okay, that was minutes. Acceptance of the agenda. Take a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. A second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the continuation of our public hearing for the Northeast Quadrant Land Use and Zoning Study. Do we need to reopen it?
It's continued, so I think
Or is
we
Victoria
should
want to either?
restart it. I would just, we
Um,
didn't close it, but I think we can.
So,
Okay.
I'll take a motion to open the continuation of the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Amy. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we are now in the continuation of the public hearing. And just as a reminder, this is related to a land use and zoning study for the northeast quadrant of the village. The latest document that we have is February 2026, version 2. And with that, I have two people who signed up to speak. George Beekman. We've moved the podium to give you a little bit of a different view.
Is it on yet or?
It is on.
It's on, so I think just start
Just-
speaking.
Hear me?
Yep.
If you keep speaking, it'll pick you up.
All right. Well, I'd like, similar to the last meeting, I was very much opposed to this. The village is a small village, and under no obligation to supply housing for anybody. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. And the word affordable today means nothing. I don't know what the heck they mean by that. It means subsidized. I have no idea. We have no idea what's going on in there, whether it's going to be somebody's going to be renting, people buying houses. To me, it's a totally incomplete plan that was shown to us. And I'd like to remind the board members that, like the previous board, which you guys were not around for that one, they all left town because of the sewer deal. This could be double header on you guys. If it hits the fan, it's going to hit the fan. I know most of the people on my block are moving. We're going to start planning in the next couple of years. We're getting out because you just, broke our back. That's it. I don't know what you want to do. You want to have Brooklyn here? I don't know. That's up to you. But Red Hook was a village when I came here 40 years ago. There were no sidewalks, no lights, very easy to deal with. Now you've got lights, sidewalks, crosswalks, where people don't pay attention. They hit the button, walk out in front of a tractor trailer. This is really stupid. You're playing into the idiocy of people who don't take responsibility. You've probably got 40% of the people here are renters. They don't pay taxes. Sure, they pay rent. They're not getting a tax bill, the school tax, and the village tax, and the town tax. They also don't pay the water bill. The landlord pays that. So when the rents go up, you're going to end up with a lot of vacancies. You don't need any extra houses or housing. I think you're chasing your tail on this one. I think the village should use eminent domain, Robert's favorite, take the property and build a park, which you don't need. You're not going to get tax money on it, but you're not going to get nothing from this either. Because if it's one of these affordable housing, you get a 30-year abatement on taxes. So I'm subsidizing that place. So I think you're creating a big problem by even following this trail going down this road. So that's all I have to say. I've exhausted everything I can, deal with. But I think you're making a big mistake. And again, unless you guys plan to move in the next couple of years, think about that one too. Because you really got saddled with this other deal, the sewer system. And I told them from the get-go it was going to fail on it. Engineering is going to fail on the cost. Both fail. You can put lipstick on it. It's going to do the same thing next time around, except you have more people involved with sewer systems that don't work. And banks won't write mortgages for houses when they don't have the sewer system and you've destroyed everything that was here. It's just something to keep in mind. I mean, you inherited it, but you're going to make it worse. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, George. Next on the list is Rick East.
I will be brief. I want to say thank you. I know this land use study has taken a long time. A lot of heads, a lot of questions, a lot of people weighing in. As I was reading back through the most recent version of it, I noticed there were some corrections, and I was making the corrections, and I went to the agenda to see what was on the agenda this evening. And I really want to applaud Francis, because the document that she put together, making the land use document friendly, was very helpful. I think that a lot of people reading it would say, like, oh, now I understand there could be two ideas of this. Now I can see there could be several ways of looking at this. And this is what the town has to, or the village has to do to come to the right answers. What I thought was really magical, though, because we have a 1,500-word essay about her house, which really is unnecessary in a document like this. And you pointed out, like, you could very succinctly say these 5 properties have these qualities, and it makes it easy to read and easy to understand. And then when someone's looking to develop something, they can see it clearly. When somebody's going to go to court about it or bring a case about it, they can see it all very clearly. So I know it's taken a long time, but adding that kind of language and making these things more succinct is really going to be helpful. This probably will live with us for a long time, the way that the most recent study did, and the better it is for that length of time, the better it is. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you for Norm.
Would anyone else like to make a comment? Okay, we'll take that as a no.
758-2054.
We have not received the commentary from the county. However, we do have an indication of what they're going to tell us. We have both our planning consultant, Bonnie Franson, and also our land use attorney, Victoria Polidoro, with us this evening as we go through sort of the final points related to this study. I just want to confirm I was planning to close the public hearing. And I just wanted confirmation from our attorney that that's okay.
So based on the indication you've received from Dutchess County Planning, you can close the hearing, but with the proviso, if Dutchess County Planning comes back with significant comments, you're going to want to reopen the hearing in case it triggers more public comments.
And perhaps, Bonnie, it's appropriate for you to indicate what you heard from county planning, and maybe if you'll just stand up there so folks can see and hear you.
So, good evening, everyone. I did have the opportunity to speak with Clayton Gurnett, who's with the County Planning Agency, and he indicated GML actually was already written, but he was waiting
GML?
for the GML, I'm sorry, the GML, General Municipal Law Review of the document. And that he essentially was waiting for one piece of information, the EAF form, which is a technical form for secret purposes that makes the submission complete. So he was waiting for that. That was sent to him. Ultimately, he said it's a favorable review. There are no issues that he was foreseeing. He didn't give me the content. He just was positive about the outcome. And I actually had emailed him Friday, emailed him today in the hopes that maybe we would get something in the event the village board wanted to act this evening and make a decision, but it did not arrive. So that was essentially kind of the characterization of his communication with me.
Based on that, Attorney Polidoro, would you recommend that we are okay with closing the public hearing?
Yeah, like I said, I think you can close the hearing, but if it comes back that they change their mind, then we'll have to reschedule it.
Great.
Yeah.
With that, I'd take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Milcorca. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. I guess I'll do a roll call vote. I'll start this way. Amy?
Aye.
Actually, were there any comments, discussion?
About closing the hearing.
Yeah, closing the hearing. So you said aye, Milcorca?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Tony?
Aye.
Fran?
I'm a no. I'm not convinced we're ready to close.
Okay. So that's 4-1 in favor, so that closes the public hearing. So the next part of the process is to review seeker and also to have sort of a final discussion on any amendments that we wanted to approve to make to the document itself. Because all of the or suggested or desired to discuss are all intended not to change the meaning of the document. And so let's go through the seeker, let's go through, or do you want to go through the
I would say let's go through the comments first,
great,
because then you could go into the seeker review,
Great.
and determine it after you discuss the revisions.
makes sense.
So I'm just gonna,
And Bonnie has a clean copy of the document.
I do.
And so when we are finalized, she'll mark those up so that we have an official marked up copy.
so
May I ask a question just before, when you say clean copy, what does that mean?
one that wasn't redlined. So when I was making the edits, I had provided you with highlighted text and then additional highlighted text because there were 2 rounds of comments.
Yes.
So that's the revised annotated version, and then I have the clean copy, meaning I just took out the red lines so that I don't see
Or the
them
highlights.
here, and the highlights.
No, so that means that the text
It's the same, I just took out the highlighting.
but that is stuff that we would,
We're gonna discuss comments on the document that you've been reviewing.
okay.
Yes.
Bonnie, perhaps you could introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Bonnie Franson, I'm with Nelson Pope and Voorhees, we're a planning and environmental consulting firm, and we were tasked with preparing this land use evaluation and zoning analysis of the North Broadway corridor area. And the recommendations and the outcomes are summarized in this land use and zoning study, and this process, I think, has been going on for maybe 2 years now?
2.5, I think.
Yes, and during this time period, we had input from various residents and stakeholders, so this has definitely been vetted. And there's a continuation of that this evening in regard to the content.
Is there a way to follow along the document? Is it online somewhere?
It
Yes,
is.
it is.
Link to the
It's-
agenda.
Okay, thank you.
And so I'm going to go through the easier of the two. So I received comments, they're forwarded to me by the mayor. One has to do with, it's from Rick East, and you had some edits to the narrative that's in the draft document. So we obviously take no exception to the revisions. So I would just say that we can incorporate these. Having said that, then there's a discussion about the historic write-up, which has been revised and made more brief. And so I think that it's a question whether the board wants to adopt it as is with these revisions, or the version that trustee Fuka provided, that's, again, a shorter summary of the information. If that happens, then I would just make sure that whatever's in here makes its way into the shortened version of the historical resource description. So that was provided on page 4 of the analysis that was done, looking at land use study amateur referendum. So starting on page 4,
Oh, yeah, awesome.
yep, and then the narrative continues with the table on 10. I had explained, I believe in an email to everyone, that essentially the length was in relation to the amount of information that was available for each of these sites. And the Martin Homestead is actually a HABS property, which means it's very significant from an architectural perspective. So that's why there was just more. And I don't think the way that it's written that there's any issue, but if you want to create a tabular format, again, that's the village board decision. One was more narrative because there was more information.
And part of the reason why there's more information is that this house is listed in the, or it's It's in the Library of Congress?
Yes, that's the HAB survey, correct.
Ah, okay. What does HAB stand for?
Historic American Building Survey.
Well, there you go, thank you. And
During,
that's,
just to give you more, a little bit more information, but during the Depression, they sent out architects to survey historic buildings so that the architects had work, and that's how our house ended up getting surveyed.
and that's the only building in the village, or certainly in the study area, that is,
Within the study area, and it is, you know, this particular house is done, they didn't pick every single building, they picked the exemplar, the particular buildings that really exemplified period architecture, and that's why this one was selected. So it is elevated in terms of its status compared to other buildings. And again,
what
it's
is
up
the,
to it's up to the village board how you want to
what is the,
address it.
what is the benefit even to writing at all about historic buildings in a land use study?
In general.
Mhm.
Twofold. So our land use studies also serve as existing conditions for the area. And because you do have to do a seeker analysis, that essentially is existing conditions that you review the impacts against. And it's really something that's customary that you do in a land use study. You have to know what the existing environs are so that you can make recommendations, and that's one element of the existing conditions, just like environmental resources and demographics, and it's something that we feel important about, that everybody understands the historic context of the area or buildings.
Is there ever a time when a grant application, for example, could reference it and that could be beneficial?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And from your perspective, the way it's written now, that is one of, there's obviously several different ways to catalog your historical
Yes.
properties.
Yeah.
And so this is one way to do that. It's considered,
This is the way that I did it. It's done, can be done differently. It just happened, like I said, it happened to be that as I went through the resources, this one has a lot of information. And I also took into consideration, when we go through this process, it's a very public process, and the owners came to this process, talked about their home and its importance, and as did at least one other property owner. And so where I can, it kind of recognizes and acknowledges and honors a little bit their efforts to be part of this process. So that's the way I approach it. Poughkeepsie, I had shown a trustee the narrative there, and that was in a tabular format. They had done, in Poughkeepsie, there was already a full historic inventory done by a historian. So it was easy to glean that information, whereas this here, we were building it.
so I guess the question is whether or not the board feels that we should change the format to the table format, I guess is the word I'm struggling with, or whether we leave it the way that it has been proposed in the land use study. Fran, would you like to talk a little bit more about your proposal?
It's in front of you. I have to admit I was very anxious sharing the proposed table, only because I do know that Mr. East and his husband have been in this process for a very long time. So you have no idea how gratified I am to hear that you
It's very
thought that
straightforward.
I have been literally losing sleep.
No, not at all.
So I think that's it. I was able, with help, I was able to pull from places including historic Red Hook particularly. I was very fascinated to learn that the Elmendorf and Mr. East's home, the Martin homestead, have a relationship. I hadn't realized that before. I knew from historic Red Hook that there's a very significant gentleman who was buried in the United Methodist Church Cemetery. So I thought that was interesting to highlight. The Cookingham barn up there is another thing that I thought was helpful to highlight. So as far as the table goes, this is just some of the, as I say, it's in the notes, in this document I've submitted for you. So that's it. That's my, you know, as Bonnie says and always says, it's for us to decide. So that's my offering.
So there's new information in here than was in the original. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, for some. For the Martin Homestead specifically, this is a condensed version gleaned from the homeowner's submission, which is the historic resources in the historic resources section. Yes. So, and then the rest of them are things that I pulled
And where did you pull them from?
from, like, historic Red Hook, from the at the top, from CRIS, from our own study. So that's what.
So I think I want to be clear again, because in looking at this, it says following table replaces the current table 10 and the narrative descriptions that follow it. Content is drawn from the study's existing text, reorganized into the Poughkeepsie format. So I just want to make sure, so when we talk about the barn, that you had provided that already, that made its way into the study. So a lot of this comes from the narrative that is the official narrative that's part of the CRIS system, which is State Historic Preservation Office's digital collections that they have. So was there anything specific in addition that was added? Or is this just, because I was led to believe this is just reorganized from the study's existing text?
No, there are two additional at least, and then I was able to pull, there are residences, so the 4, 1, 2, 3, 3 there that do not appear in the study, but what does appear in the study, although not catalogued in this table format, is the Grand Duchess B&B. I also added in something for the United Methodist Church Cemetery on Church Street, and the barn also taken from some of the homeowner submission.
So it's just a typo at the top, that it's source citations, like you were saying, you thought it all came from the narrative description, but the last sentence.
Yes.
Chabot, Chris, yeah.
So
Alright, here's what it is.
our table 10 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 properties. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But the reason is because Cookingham Farm has been included, which is not a National Register eligible property. And the other is United Methodist Church Cemetery is also not identified as National Register eligible.
Correct.
We do describe the cemetery, it's just not part of the table. And so what you have in the table is essentially describing the fact it's a National Register eligible or State Register property, the address, when it was constructed, that is essentially in that table 10. And then you added into the table the narrative from United Methodist Church Cemetery, which is there, and then the barn was discussed under, I believe, the Martin Homestead. Yes, so you called that out. That's the change.
So are you proposing then, Fran, that we would remove this section about the cemetery from another place? Like if this is gonna replace narrative, would we, if narratives are in another place, do we remove them?
Sure.
I'm asking you if that's what you would like.
Yeah, no, I was agreeing.
I don't think Amy was proposing that though, right? She was asking what
I
you
was
were
just
proposing.
asking.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was just trying to create a table that sort of spoke to what Bonnie had already done, but also including these properties, the Cookingham barn teased out, a bit, just fleshed out with narrative. I was just trying to make a table in which everything kind of related to everything else.
No, I completely see the point of the table, and it's very concise. I just think that we might then need to look at the section that was based on what was the woman's name who came?
Benedict?
She's one of your neighbors, Tony.
Nancy Benedict.
Nancy Benedict.
Nancy, yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we might need to look at that section for flow,
Okay.
if we're gonna remove that from the narrative.
Okay, I see what you mean. Uh-huh.
I guess from my standpoint, we have spent a lot of time on this document, and the way it is written now, while it might be for some easier to grasp in a table, I think we have a lot of good information in here. I think it's an appropriate way to demonstrate it. I guess I would, from my standpoint, I would prefer not to change the format at this time. But that could be just me.
Can I ask a question? So the goal of this is to make it more legible, but it's not changing any of the information that's in the study as it is.
No, it doesn't.
It
Oh,
does.
it does, it does.
Yes. So for instance, the Martin
Okay.
Homestead has a much longer narrative,
Yes.
so this one would be,
But factually, I mean,
It's not, it's,
they're the same properties.
okay.
Yeah.
But like the summary, like, are we missing, what is removed? I guess that's the thing that I wanna know, like, what is removed that's not included in this? Because a lot of the times when we do like the red line, you sort of can really see what it is that you're not.
Including,
changing.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
we
what
can
is-
take a look at the study. Say for instance at the so just off the top of my head, if we're talking about the Martin Homestead, and again, I'm nervous as I do, but there are a number of more things that are interesting to me or to anyone as historic context, but not necessarily, let me pull up, let's
we have
So-
what Mr. East edited.
Yes.
It's not,
So I could tell you so for example, what has been removed is, do you see a paragraph starting the dwelling is associated with the predominant Martin family?
yeah,
Yeah,
So that is gone,
yeah.
and it's just, it's simplified.
Mhm.
And
Thank
then,
you for using that word.
then the second, the property was passed down to the Martin family for generations. And it talks about the owners, Elizabeth Martin, et cetera. That is not here.
Got it, and and that's all in yellow because that was what was asked to be included by the homeowners. originally.
That, yes.
There was
And some additions by me too.
additional information that was provided, and Bonnie took that and
Yeah, I'm sorry.
added to what we have.
And then I think I went further because there was so much information.
No,
I wanted to actually see the path of the Martins to the Cookinghams,
sure.
so I tried to add that as well.
Yeah.
And then that's what you marked up this evening.
Oh, yeah, there were dates.
Yes,
And some of it's anecdotal, so
yes,
to reference that
Right.
everybody says that he started building the house in July of 1776.
right. And since none of us were there,
Well, nobody would build a house back then. You would start in the spring when it was warm enough to take ground, and you'd build it as fast as you could until it got cold.
yeah,
So the idea that you waited till the height of the summer to start your home just isn't logical. I think it's more the folklore of July 4th and all of
Yes.
that. So
yeah, that it actually
gets handed
happened on
down
July,
as a
yeah.
family thing.
Yes.
It becomes a story, not necessarily
Yes.
true.
So I think the question then becomes, we have two, I don't think there's a question that the data is different. I think that with the way the document exists as it is now, it has more information in it. A little bit more about the family, a little bit more, of that piece. It sounds as though it's a style question.
Yes.
And sort of capturing
A-
additional data.
Well, I think,
Yep.
if I'm reading this correctly, there's additional resources added as well, right?
Mhm.
And so what is the ramification of adding these resources?
Having added the resources.
Right, I mean, in the
For-
study, it's just
For me, it just, again, it's about elevating the property.
Mhm.
That this one, more than others, has so much history to
Oh,
it.
no, not just Martin, I'm
Well, yeah, all
saying
of
in the
them.
chart itself,
Oh, okay.
like Cookingham Farm Barn is something that's.
That's, that's the one that wasn't called out because it flowed from the Martin homestead. And you mentioned the relationship, that was all part of the entire farm, and that may have historic roots. And so you called that one out, the barn itself, which is more just part of the story of the Martin homestead.
I guess I'm asking, what are the ramifications of including of this information in the first place? Is there going to be a historic preservation law that gets based on this? Or is this
No,
just?
I think it's information that as this land use area and as the zoning gets implemented and as developments come before the planning board, that they can look at this document and say, oh, we're across from a National Register site, and it seems to be very important to the village, whichever the sites they are.
Some of these aren't state or national register, so you'd almost be giving them like a local significance.
The Cookingham barn, we would be,
Right,
yes,
and the
And the
cemetery.
and the cemetery, which is, although it has a plaque, so that's, I think, right? It's the
Yeah,
plaque
it's a
outside,
plaque, yeah, there's, yes.
Pomeroy marker is there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, but they are culturally significant, but they're not officially National Register recognized, correct? And that could be, I don't know that it's because they're not significant, no one may have thought to try and
Nominate them, sure.
nominate them, exactly.
I was just trying to understand what the purpose, because out of context, I'm only seeing the chart, what the purpose of
Yeah,
identifying this was in the first place.
yes, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess the question then would be by if in the chart, because it seems to elevate the barn, for example, does that change anything as it relates to any development possibilities related to that barn?
So, to me, it begs the question, are you designating it as locally significant? It's not something, you don't have a historic preservation law, a lot of communities have these in which they would say, anything state, national, or locally designated. And so this could be the basis for a local designation, or if you're undergoing an environmental review, a question may come up, should this be considered local designation because it's been called out specifically now in this land use plan? I say it's.
I know definitely, I think what it calls out is that it would need to be studied. So if
Right.
someone came along and said they want to demolish it, it's gonna say, well, we have this here listed as a historic resource, and therefore you need to do some evaluation before you contemplate that.
But
And
we
does
don't
that-
have anything that says that right now.
No, only that it's attached to the history of the Martin homestead.
And
And-
So, but
the
I mean, we
cooking
don't have
house.
anything stopping demolition in the village right now.
No, because you don't have a historic
Right.
preservation law.
And is there a difference in that, given that it is referenced in the current narrative that we have versus the chart, is there any difference in that, in those two approaches?
I would say it highlighting it separately in the chart would elevate, in my opinion, I think it elevates it, because it's calling it out, whereas it was part of the Cookingham narrative. That's up to the board, whether you do or don't want to do that. I'm gonna propose a third option, which could be in the main text, kind of as we did with traffic calming. You could put the chart, and then as an appendix, have the entire narrative, so that they're both there, and just make sure they're not inconsistent. But now you're creating two sources of information. I don't know that it's necessary, I'm just throwing it out there.
I just wanna make sure, it's a lot to review to make sure it is consistent, so
Yes.
that's sort of going back and forth is, I wanna make sure we don't lose anything if we.
I
Right.
appreciate that. And one of the reasons as well that I had that in there is only because in the study, in the goals, that is, we do reference the barn as being, as you just said, worth studying
Yeah.
for adaptive use, commercial, whatever it is. But like you, I think
Yeah.
you said, or did Victoria say, I don't remember who said it. But if someone came along and wanted to, put up something that would infringe upon the profile of that building or knock it down, that's not something I imagine we would want to see.
I think part of the intent was to adaptively reuse it, whatever happens at the site. And so you're not preserving it in the way that you would a National Register property. They would probably make improvements to it
It would
to
have to,
adaptive reuse, right?
They
So,
would have
To the inside.
exactly. So it's a little different than your National Register properties that you really don't want to be doing major changes. Or if you put an addition in, it has to be compatible, but it can't mimic, the period.
Do
So,
you know the age of the barn?
I hate to, I don't wanna raise my hand because I know I'm not really included in this conversation, and so much of me wants to be included.
You can run, there's an
I
election.
know.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do about that. I wanted to point out that the farm was used as a farm and, until Lee Cookingham died in 2019, it was a part of Fast Tracks. So there would have never, a farmer would never say like, why don't we designate our barn
Right,
as a
yes.
National Historic
Yeah.
Trust?
Yes.
It doesn't mean it doesn't have a value.
right.
Of course.
I know that acknowledging that could put some kind of restriction on what
Yeah,
Rubco, for example, would be able to do with that part of the property. But the barn continues to deteriorate, and that makes me sad because nobody's taking care of it now. And then the longer we wait, one morning I might wake up and they're just taking it down, and that would be really sad.
right.
So I know that kind of makes you guys in a difficult position, but then to weigh out whether or not it is important, which is why I acknowledged it in our
Yes.
revisions too.
And I think that was fine and appropriate. I would say the other real purpose of it was just you're transitioning from your downtown central business district. We talked about how you transition to a less dense, getting into the mixed use, and then ultimately you're back into the rural. And so the barn is sort of the visual reminder that you're going back and transitioning into the rural, yes. Because the village continues beyond, the property.
We consider the house and the barn the bookends. That's how we always talk about them again.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we as a board need to make a decision. Sure. Well, you should probably speak into the mic so you can hear.
One of my concerns originally, as you know, was I live on Grape Street, and was the traffic I see going by on Grape Street. Okay, and the proposal here is to extend Grape Street apparently, attempt to, into this property. It says here that the land use study encourages residents and visitors to access daily needs on foot or by bicycle.
Tony, can I just, I'd like to sort of resolve the question about the historic resources first, before we go on to another. This is, my decision, the decision I was wanting to make was whether or not, what we do with the historic resources section, and then review the other items, just to sort of put a bow on this and move on. Unless I'm misunderstanding where you're going.
You know where I'm going. I mean, where I'm going is the concern about traffic, certainly on Grape Street, but traffic in general.
Okay, so that's what, I'd love to just finalize the discussion on the historic resources and then come back to that. I don't mean to, I'm not intending to say it doesn't matter. It's just this is about the specific section of the document that's related to the historic resources.
Right. Just so we have guidance, so for the final.
So we got,
version
so
of
the
doc,
final
yeah.
is what it is, and so.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about the land stuff. Does he have the page 5? Maybe that's helpful if he goes to the actual table that we're looking at.
It's in all of our binders.
Okay, so, Fran, would you like to make a motion related to the?
Yes. Just 1 second, sorry, to the land use study. Sorry, say it again.
Page 15. Sorry.
And then also our proposed table, I don't know if he has that.
It's in his,
I don't know if he has it, he's not looking at it.
would someone like to make a motion to recommend a change to the current document, or are we?
Okay, sure,
Leave it the same.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, yes, so the motion would be to, let's see, so this is, if we're agreed, the motion would be to update the table currently in the resource, historic resource inventory on page...
15?
Page 15, thank you, with the redraft, and I'm happy to also make any internal edits if we wish to do so, but I feel very comfortable with proposing that, especially given Mr. East's comments.
So if I can clarify, perhaps refine, the motion would be to replace table 10 with the table that you have proposed, and that would then eliminate the narrative that follows on page 16, 17, and 18.
Is it, are we changing the Cherry?
And we don't have Cherry Street in here.
No, it's
Just the cemetery is mentioned in Cherry Street.
So it would replace everything up to, I think, United Methodist Church Cemetery.
And then the historic
And
building
historic
patterns
building patterns
would
would
stay.
Would stay.
Is that-
Proposing. Yes,
does that make sense?
Yes.
I will second that proposal with one addition,
Please.
if I may, which is that there be more clear source citations. So that it's,
You mean per entry, you want specific?
well, I mean, yeah, when it says historic Red Hook, semicolons, I mean, this may just be the librarian in me, but like
Sure.
semicolon study field research,
Yeah.
that's not something someone could go and then find. So
Okay.
if we could just make them full citations.
Citations.
And then also if we could have an AI clarification, if you did this with AI.
Some of it, yeah.
Okay, so then I would also suggest that we should add that. I mean, I'm in favor of using this table, but I just think that it's important that we properly
I
cite our
agree,
sources and
I
stuff.
agree, yeah.
Great. So I'll second it if you're okay with those changes.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Would you mind restating that?
Sure.
Just, thank you.
So I'll motion, you can second.
Oh.
If you want, it's up to you.
Sure, I'm perfectly happy
Okay,
with that.
so I move that we replace the table of historic resources
Properties.
in the current draft of the land use study with the proposed redraft from trustee Upu, with the proviso that we update the source citations so that they are complete, and an added statement on the use of AI.
Great.
For discussion, is this something that Ms. Franson is doing, or is this something that trustee Uku is doing?
Thank you.
The citations?
I think you raised that because now it's in a document with our,
Yes.
logo
Oh, right, fair
that
enough.
says
Right.
that
Yes.
You're
we're
absolutely
using
right.
AI and we didn't, so
Yes.
somehow it has to be sourced that portion of it isn't us.
I understand, that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to make
Thank
it
you,
clear.
I appreciate
Yeah,
it,
so
thank you.
I don't know how that is done.
I think perhaps under the source, at the bottom of the table, it can say this something, and then perhaps Fran,
I can
Generate
provide
something.
that, but to your point, I think that if you are able to vet based on the sources that I provide, then it no longer is like AI from the sky.
No.
It's just,
I mean,
but we're
that's
not asking Bonnie to rewrite it.
no, it's not. I'm saying that I would provide the citations
Right.
and then Bonnie can verify.
And-
I mean, like, I would say, because we were just talking about including something in the study that is work product from Nelson Pope and Voorhees. That's not what we were discussing?
right, that was what her concern was, but
Yeah.
what you're
So-
then asking is for her to do something at an hourly cost.
Sure.
Would
if-
would it be acceptable for you if the chart that that replaces, it becomes table 10. At the bottom, it says this table was
Prepared by
prepared by Trustee Uku,
Mm-hmm.
using the following sources, including AI generation.
That can be done, yes.
Okay, if you're okay with that,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
you're okay
Yeah,
with,
yeah, I'm okay
with
with
creating
bringing
that
those, yeah.
language,
Then the motion is once again amended.
Yeah, it's, you can keep.
Oh, ladies. Sorry.
Sorry, Jen.
So it's the same motion I said before, except for with the proviso that there are full source citations and a statement that the table was prepared by Trustee Uku with use of AI, and I presume you would supply
Yeah.
assistance of, but you would apply which AI model you used.
No, because you could use any number of them. What do you mean
Right,
by
but
AI
if we are accurately explaining sources of a specific thing, then you would say what sources you specifically used and what AI model you used.
Do we just
When you
say
say
like?
model,
like
you
what-
sorry.
I mean like
What
ChatGPT.
Like what app? What proprietary app?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Language proprietary.
Okay.
You're not asking her to put all her prompts in.
No. I am just asking for the proprietary.
it's long enough.
Sure.
All right, so that's the motion.
Okay, so you made the motion, Amy. Fran, are you gonna second that?
Yes, I will.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote. Aye? Mel Corco?
Am I just supposed to vote? I'm not supposed to?
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
well, you don't have to explain your vote, but you can if you want to. We can also continue to discuss.
Do you mind if I explain my vote before and then I
Go
vote?
ahead. Mhm.
Just that I feel uncomfortable with that much content being cut out. I love a table. A table is my jam. I think like legibility is wonderful, and I appreciate that, but I am really worried about just that amount of content being cut, because it really is an important house, and it makes me nervous, that's all. So I'm gonna vote no, but I appreciate the idea of a table.
Would you like to propose an amendment where we add the narrative that's been developed as an amendment? As a appendix, that's the word.
Yes, and it's the vetting of the two, like that, I'm worried that there might be some conflicts in here that I can't read out in this thing, but that could be an amendment, yeah.
yes.
An appendix.
Appendix, sorry, yes, it could
With
be
the
amended.
full.
So the motion has changed again.
I'm just, yeah.
Eyes work, there'd be an asterisk that said like additional information on the Martin House can be found in appendix Y.
This is a summary table.
Actually, I would
official
say
narrative.
additional information on the historic properties, because there's
On the
other,
Okay,
Yeah,
could
I
be
don't know
found
that
in
we have
appendix
everything.
B. And then there would need to be a review though substantive to make sure that the information doesn't conflict between the table and
And
the
the
narrative, that
Yeah.
it's certainly
Yes.
just a,
And we'd have to pay for that, yeah.
okay.
That would be the way that I would feel comfortable in, I
so I'm gonna take that as a motion to amend the motion,
To add the information.
to add the information
As
the
appendix
narrative
B.
as an appendix.
Yes.
I will actually second that motion.
Excellent.
So we are now going to vote on the amendment to the
Motion that I made.
motion. So this is on the amendment of adding the appendix.
My vote is aye.
Mel Corco?
Aye.
Tony?
Is it possible to read again what we're voting on?
Yes.
Sure.
So we're, oh, go ahead.
Mel Corca made a motion to amend the original motion made by Trustee Smith and Trustee Uku to replace the table on section D, page 15, with the table prepared by Trustee Uku, which cites all sources, adds a statement about the preparation with assistance of AI and the platform used, and then places all narrative text currently in section D in an amendment.
So what we're
Appendix.
voting on.
Appendix.
Appendix. What we're voting on is whether or not we want to add the appendix to the document. And the appendix is the narrative that is currently in the land use study.
And
we're
replace
also-
the table.
And we're also voting to have the
Well,
planner
all-
verify, right?
All we're voting on right now is whether or not we add the appendix to the original motion. That's the vote.
And this
Oh,
only
wait,
involves
we're-
historic resources,
Yes.
nothing else about the plan.
We are right now voting on an amendment to the motion?
No, it's a revised
Yes.
motion.
Yes, revised motion.
No,
Revised motion.
she just said,
It's a revised we don't need to vote on the revision before we
No,
vote.
you guys
No.
are, just make it, it's a.
no,
it's a
just
revised
add that to
Okay,
the.
it's added. We're
Yeah.
voting on the entire motion with the addition of the appendix. Sorry. Amy?
Aye.
That's what you understood?
Yes, that's what I'm
Fine, yes.
Okay, Tony?
Abstain.
Okay, Fran?
I'm an aye.
I am also an aye. Okay, historic piece is done.
And thank you.
Yay. All right. Now, Trustee Uso also provided us with changes, proposed changes to additional narrative in the document. Did everybody have a chance to review it?
Yes.
Okay. So I did as well, and I don't have huge issues with it, although I will say I think that it does change the nature of some of the thoughts. So why don't we go through these? Number one, preserve the traditional neighborhood scale. So the values, the narrative is preserve the traditional neighborhood scale and historical aspects of the area. And then what you've done is indicate how someone can use this or make an interpretation that you think would be against what the intent is. And so you then say, but the study also says compact building design and range of housing choices and opportunities is in there too. And you have replaced with respect the historical aspects of the area while accommodating the range of housing types and densities needed to serve current and future residents. And then you have, this is what the board means, character matters and so does housing. Without the language, can be read as keep things the way they are. What is being removed is traditional neighborhood scale. And those three words I think are important because we're not talking about 5 stories, we're not talking about anything that's significantly large, significantly long. We're still trying to keep within what exists here. So,
But you do also say that in the smart growth principles. So we're not talking about the big, tall buildings, and it's compact building design and range of housing opportunities and choices.
right, so, but it says that in one sentence in the beginning. So when we do say compact building design, we do say range of housing choice and opportunities. What is, how is this changing in a way that you think is better? Because it already does say that, and you point that out. That's what I'm not understanding.
But here, it's sort of tying them together, because if you take them separately, if you take preserve traditional neighborhood scale and also compact building design, those if you merge them, and you would be saying both of those things at once, rather than two things in two separate places that potentially, not definitely, but potentially could conflict.
So, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, just, there is another way to understand scale, which is what I think you're saying. And that is missing with the amendment, respect the historical aspects of the area. Doesn't actually stipulate that one of the most important elements is the scale of the buildings. And right, it says it elsewhere in the smart growth, but part of our intention in the beginning was to state the values that we have. And I think that it's reasonable to have them stated separately, even if
I don't know that I would replace one with the other.
That's-
I think you're trying to elevate both. So on the
Right.
very first page, it is preserve traditional neighborhood scale and historical aspects of the area. And then right in the same, section with the bullet points, it does say, as you said, provide a range of housing types, et cetera. They all matter. And so my only concern is taking out the scale, the traditional scale, because traditional scale ties into the prior plan, trying to create Hamlet-like, and if we take that out, I feel like we might lose something. So that would be my concern.
A lot of the pattern book, which is like an
Yes.
amendment to the comp plan, talks a lot about that street scale and that feeling on, streets. And a lot of it is that, ratio, right? Of how the building feels to the street, to the sidewalk, to the pedestrian. And I think that's what it's, trying to reference.
And in fact, one of the last edits that was made to the document was you wanted to talk about Cherry Street and Gray Street, and how those were, they have a pattern that exists, and that in some instances, that's the pattern that you want to emulate, to the extent you can.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying to achieve, yeah. So I don't know if you want to reword this, but if you do amend it, I would want to still include where you say replace with, respect the, and then still leave in traditional neighborhood scale and historical aspects. And then you're really marrying two bullets together, essentially,
That's great.
right? But I don't know if you want to keep them separate.
I mean, personally, and I'm just one opinion, I would rather keep them separate because I think that they are individually both very important, and this is the section where we are stating our values. So, just my personal opinion.
And one of the reasons why we also, like Bonnie was saying, we made this because we wanted to, there's trepidation about the neighborhood changing. And we wanted to say as a value that we really wanted to make sure that anything that is done is in fitting with what we appreciate about the scale.
Yeah, it's
Currently.
partially respecting some of the feedback that we've gotten just in the months that this iteration of the board has been looking at this.
Okay, with that discussion, Fran, do you still feel it's important to make the
With any of these, all five that I included, it's all for our discussion
and based on this discussion, would you like to make a motion to make this change, or do you feel that your concerns have been addressed based on Bonnie's comments?
I'm going to back up slightly. We're treading on an area that we decided not to do at the last meeting, which was to make a motion
On every individual thing.
So
Yeah.
can we just have a healthy discussion and like I said, leave me out of it with the motion?
The thing is, we did discuss this history at a previous meeting a couple times, and we just had to have a formal vote to move forward on it, so.
Yes, but you can just say, it's not, you don't need a motion. It sounds
Okay.
like Amy's not on board, sounds like Melcorca's not on board, sounds like we don't have,
and that's also speaking for them, so.
No, I said what my personal opinion was, so, which was that I would rather they stay two separate bullet points because they are equal values, that at times, I mean, this is part of why the planning board exists, because there are sometimes two truths, and they have to negotiate them.
But why would we create an ambiguous situation? For
Because it
planning
matters,
board
both things matter to us, and it's not ambiguous that they both matter. The scale of the buildings
Mhm.
needs to be in keeping with the traditional neighborhoods that are surrounding it.
But do you see how, if you're talking about what we have in R 20,000 and R 10,000, those lot sizes and the.
But that's not scale. Scale is
But-
size,
Yes, which is absolutely, you can't build multifamily in a 10.
which is why we're doing this, and why we will have an amendment to the zoning law to allow it.
But we also, in your number 2, compatible with historic village lot sizes, the language says ensure developments are compatible with historic village lot sizes, housing sizes, and varieties. So it's not the lots exclusively, it's housing, it's the form, it's the lot size, it's the combination of all of those. And they are gonna be different depending on Some multifamily will be more like single family if we have a fourplex or a triplex, right? If we have a bigger multifamily building, then it's going to have to be designed in a way that its scale is less apparent and feels like it fits within a village landscape. So they're gonna have to work harder to make it look like
We
it
do,
fits.
Like it belongs.
Yes.
we do have duplexes currently, and they are within the scale.
And within that neighborhood,
And
there's
within the
an
neighborhood.
apartment building in the neighborhood, there's duplexes. Or,
Right.
you know, there are houses that have been split into two apartments.
Yeah.
Or four.
Yes.
that's the case maybe.
There's definitely a fourplex. So I think we're just trying to get at and to the village clerks to maybe develop consensus as to whether you want, is there consensus to change it, or is the consensus really most want to leave it as is?
Number one, this one, and it's number 1 and 2, right? Because it'd be the idea of,
Yes.
I would rather keep it as is because I believe that they're both very important and I don't want to minimize them by smushing them together.
Okay, so you're saying 1 and 2?
I'm of the same opinion, I would prefer to leave those both.
Okay. Okay, so that's 2 for leaving them as is.
Well, I guess after this discussion, which I have found helpful, I think having, to me, 2 separate bullet points, identify them both as important, and I don't see the need or the value to combine them together. And I think the notion of the lot sizes, to say that there's a variety of them that will allow for some flexibility in depending on what's being proposed. I can see that as being, again, there's going to be different things proposed, et cetera. So I myself would be happy leaving them the same, not making the change for 1 and 2. That would be my, again, based on the conversation, which I think has been helpful, to me in any case. Tony, do you have a thought?
The language as is, preserve the traditional neighborhood standards.
As one of the bullet points in our shared values.
Compatible with historic village lot sizes. It's certainly a guideline for the planning board to look at.
Mhm.
And they can modify it as they.
Well, they can't modify our shared values, but they can,
Yeah.
apply the shared values that we have
their discretion.
at their
They're gonna
discretion.
have to anyway.
Well,
And they will have to based on,
or a variance,
Right.
or a variance, if a developer doesn't fit.
So I'm comfortable with it as it is.
okay. So let's move on to number 3.
So number 3, I just want to explain the context, because I could see what was happening here. So I had protect existing residential uses and character on the west side of North Broadway. And you were talking about encourage
That it's already,
So what I was expressing is that the study area by design was both sides of the road. Ultimately, we know, because we've started to work on zoning, that it's really about the east side. But this is within the context of the land use study, where we were coming to conclusions and saying we want to leave the west side the way it is. We don't want to change that or incorporate it, make it mixed use. It's the frontage on the east side where we want to make the change. And so I wasn't trying to express, if I'm in the right section, multiple mixed uses. Is this the one with the multiple? Sorry,
no.
I might have jumped ahead. It was a
You
limited
might have jumped
mixed
ahead.
use.
Can I,
Yeah, sorry.
this, I think, also came in at a direct public, I remember the
Oh.
public hearing, talking about they would like language that stipulated that the west side was going to be, its existing residential use and character reproduction. That was a direct public request.
Yes, so I think what I had for this one, sorry, I was on the wrong section, that I like the intent to protect, because I don't think that whatever happens on the east side is necessarily gonna always complement. So in some instances, we may need to have screening or buffering.
Right.
Because it may not, you know, like the CBS building, I wouldn't say it as it looks exactly like the streetscape across the way. And so there you have to enhance it so that it, you know, protects in a way, goes beyond complement. So for me, the word that I focused on was taking out protect. I thought protect was an important word.
Because it's not just about what might or might not be done over there, it's about the experience of being over there remaining the same.
And having the zoning law that
Yeah.
might come from this reflect that.
So if there were commercial, the parking couldn't be in front of it, it would have to be in back of it. In a way of protecting the residential character across the street.
Can we say protect, can we say protect and complement? Is that too much?
Does that not, do you want and?
Is that gonna confuse to say protect and
I would
complement?
think it would be confusing, but I mean,
Well,
not that it's
just-
confusing, just,
Thinking about CVS, I mean, there's
Yeah.
not, there really isn't anything that's not developed on the east side.
Correct.
And so any enhancement that we can encourage is going to be adding some green space, adding a sidewalk, that sort of thing, which would
Benefit
benefit the
the
west side.
yes.
I don't know if it complements the west side, but I think protect is more,
Yeah,
makes more sense. I don't think I'd put both words in there.
okay.
Yeah,
I think compliment would be too hard, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
CVS doesn't complement, but it's the front stuff
They
that,
did put in a lot of rose bushes.
they did, and that's
So
what,
that's-
wasn't
What
the
does
building.
protect mean?
That's what
Well,
you're
I think
asking.
that's
And-
what
Yeah, but I think that
trustee's asking.
given Fran's point that the zoning there is not going to be subject to an amendment on the law, protect means to preserve the experience of that side. So I believe that, I don't know, I think it was David.
it was.
So yeah, David spoke about, for example, if there were going to have to be a traffic light right across from their house for people to come out of a development there, that would fundamentally change their experience across the street. That is where I think that it came from.
I mean, you
That would never
can't.
be a secret.
I know.
But
I'm
if
just-
that's the case, there's no control over whether or not DOT is gonna require a traffic light, and so you don't wanna give, if someone comes in with a proposal, which actually ends up warranting some traffic thing, but
Yeah.
I think we can think about the word protect.
How about,
We say
how about?
consider.
Something
is
other
there
than
legal-
complement or protect.
Consider.
Well, I mean,
How about consider?
Or consider the,
Consider the effect
I mean-
on,
Consider the existing residential uses and character on the west side of North Broadway.
sure, yeah, consider.
Consider?
Oh,
Yeah,
protect is so much nicer.
I know, but there's legal consequences. There's legal consequences. That's what we're trying to say. Yeah.
I mean, if it was historic preservation, we'd be talking about compatibility, but that's
It's not.
not quite there,
Yeah.
no.
Well, it depends on which house, right?
I mean, I think, and again, thinking about CVS, it was a consideration for the properties across the street that led to the greening and the rose bushes
And putting the entrance in the front.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
So
that's how the
consideration
process
works in that regard.
So,
Fran, does that address your concern?
so Fran had some examples of how that could happen with appropriate building orientation, landscaping, pedestrian connections. We could say ensure that new development on the east side of North Broadway consider the resident, well, because I don't want to say streetscape, I want to say consider the residences on the west side through appropriate building orientation, landscaping.
Consider the existing residential uses and character on the west side,
Yeah,
which is what you've got there. Then it's just really changing a verb.
so you're throwing in a few examples of how you would do it, but you're saying consider
So
and,
But I don't,
if we say, because what it currently says is protect the existing residential uses and character on the west side of North Broadway.
which is strong.
We're suggesting to change it to consider the existing residential uses and character on the west side of North Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
In Fran's proposal, it included some examples. Is there any reason not to include those examples?
So that's what I'm thinking, we could say, consider the existing residential uses and character on the west side of North Broadway.
I mean, you wanna,
I'm trying to merge the two.
you wanna consider the impacts of the development on the existing residential character,
Mm-hmm.
right.
right?
So you could say that, yeah.
Well, you wanna go, so I think you wanna go beyond consider, because someone can say, I considered it.
And I decided it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so somehow, so I was thinking, ensure that new or infill is gonna be new.
Yeah.
Um, Development east side of Broadway considers existing residential uses and character on the west side of North Broadway,
In making,
and then somehow adding in appropriate building
Stipulations.
orientation, landscaping, pedestrian connections.
and I think it should be, instead of through appropriate, it should be such as, because
Such,
there
yep,
may, that leaves
More
the
than
planning
one,
board the
yes,
opportunity
yeah, more.
to have something we hadn't thought of. Otherwise, we're adding appendix C,
Thank you.
like our traffic calming pedestrian one, and it's like every possible thing.
So Bonnie, can you restate that?
yep, I'm gonna try. It's gonna say, consider the existing residential uses and character on the west side of North Broadway.
Oh.
Wait,
I think you had
Did I
considered
start with
something-
yours?
Yeah. I think so.
ensure that
It
new
should, yeah.
development on the east side of North Broadway
Considers
the residential.
the existing residential uses and character on the west side of North Broadway through, we could say,
Stipulations such as,
Such as.
through stipulations such as.
unless stipulations has a
I
legal
don't
meaning.
think
Or
so.
how
Yeah, yeah,
about,
yeah, yeah, I
how about
figured you wouldn't.
through design measures such
Yeah,
as.
such as, perfect.
Such as, yeah.
And we are saying
Thanks for understanding.
new development,
No.
we're only saying new development, we're not saying modifications, like, is
Oh,
that,
yeah,
is there
that's
like a?
that's
I
a
think
good,
maybe we should
How
just
about
say
instead of-
development.
yeah,
I think it's
So
kind of-
ensure that, how about any development?
yes.
Mhm.
All right, so ensure that any development on the east side of North Broadway
Mhm.
considers the existing residential uses,
Mhm.
you want and character,
Mhm.
Mhm. On the west side.
on the west side through design measures such as appropriate building orientation, landscaping, and pedestrian connections.
The only thing I would say about character is when you're introducing that, like, there's currently, like, CBS has character.
We're
Like,
only
it-
talking about the west side's character.
Okay, but again, we come to, yeah, it's,
Yeah,
Well,
so
I
it's
mean,
existing
here-
residential uses and character on the west side.
I understand. But when you have the character in there, what are we specifically talking about when we say character? Because that we're not trying to emulate that side, or we're not trying to.
No, we're just trying to consider the existing character on the west side, which is very different than the east side.
No, yeah.
Is there a different word that you would
Yeah,
like, so that we understand what you're
What
coming
does
from?
The problem to me is, both the word protect and consider seem to have an ambiguous character to them. What you're looking to do is not have a negative effect on the west side from any development. And I'd like to frame it more that way. It's just the words protect and consider, just seem awfully ambiguous.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
But we can't say any negative impact, because someone could say, well, someone across the street at one of the new houses,
I don't like that paint color,
yeah, exactly, that's impacting me negatively.
but or is that
You
wrong?
could also
Well,
say
negative
it's
impact
not being
is-
protected or.
We just have to say the scale.
I mean, the other, you don't want to be so precise that
Yeah.
you're
Planning board
limited,
is gonna-
particularly because this is the study, it's not the law. And so I think the study perhaps is indicating that we should be considering these things. And then we see how that should play out in the
and
law.
it gets applied by the planning board.
That
Right,
makes sense.
ultimately, yeah. And I'm sorry, Fran, did you have?
No, I was agreeing with what you said there, because there's still the law to come,
Yeah.
so.
So are we? do
So I'm
we
going to read
have
it one more time. Ensure that any development on the east side of North Broadway considers the existing residential uses and character on the west side through design measures such as appropriate building orientation, landscaping, and pedestrian connections.
I don't think you need appropriate.
Right?
Is that self-evident?
I mean, who decides?
Design measures through, because you're
Yeah,
considering.
it's
Yeah,
billing, there's three things. but whatever. We can also, I should shut up because I don't need this to be longer either.
No, the word appropriate, is she saying that
I'm
that's
just saying, like,
not
it's
needed?
minor whether or not the word appropriate's in there, so I should just
Not needed.
not bother.
I like.
You like the word appropriate?
No, I don't mean, I meant, I appreciate, like, wanting to be, I'm
Great, then let's
flexible.
just take out the word appropriate.
I'm flexible.
Okay, then we'll take out the word appropriate.
Cool,
All right,
All
very good.
right.
we got
And
it.
then mixed use, this
yes.
is where it started
Yep.
down the path, where, about the easterly frontage, and this, what I was trying to say, that is essentially because the study was evaluating both sides.
Mhm.
When I wrote that, it was so that I could indicate that we're contemplating mixed use on the
On the
easterly
east.
frontage, yeah. In relation to the westerly, not the types of mixed
Itself.
uses, yes.
On the east.
Is that okay?
I don't know, it's just one, it's like appropriate, like, it's just, it's one of those words that I just think is, just let some person get in and say, well, this is not within limits, this is, it's just something I wanted to throw out there.
Okay. I think it's okay, only because of the context of we're really trying to say, we only want it on the easterly side, that's what the intent was. And then 5, affordable housing. So perhaps you can delve into the affordable housing.
Well, I think what you're recommending is that we require it to be affordable housing regardless of who owns that property.
That is, but we haven't come to that, I was just still,
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah, I was just still on
Oh, sorry,
limited
sorry.
mixed use.
Okay,
Sorry, just only because, just coming back again with the, we want limited mixed use, but then we also have mixed land uses. Like, it's,
yes.
I don't know.
It's a tricky
Was
mix
it,
of
was
words.
it just to intend that you're not really looking for, like,
Not looking to
landscaping and
limit.
residential? It's really retail?
What
Is
we
that
were,
when you
what
use
we
the
were
word
really
limited?
trying to say is we didn't want that mix of uses on the west side.
Oh,
Oh, but.
Because we're
I
emphasizing
thought
the
limited
easterly.
was describing the type of mixed uses.
No, it was,
Alright, then move the word limited.
Yeah,
Allow for mixed use apartments above stores
Yep.
with limitation on the eastern frontage. It doesn't even
Yeah.
say
we don't
this.
need the limited
We don't
then.
need the limited at all, just cross it off.
Yep.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
There you go. You got that? Everybody's okay with that? Okay.
If you're okay with it,
Sure we
I'm
have
okay with it.
consensus.
Page 5, I mean number 5.
All right, so affordable housing.
Well,
Now,
is
this is a wordy one, and
Okay.
this is me throwing things out with
But
any of these.
before you, I was gonna say, before you go into the words, I think the concept is that you're imagining what if Rupco doesn't proceed and someone else ends up with the property.
Mhm.
This is the way I read it. You wanted to require it to be affordable housing.
Well, not require.
It says require it be developed entirely as.
It says proposed amendment. It's supposed to come out of this discussion, but I mean, this is just something that I put together. So I wasn't suggesting. It's something that I suggested that could be something we would like to consider. That we use the fact that we have an affordable housing need to specifically address the Coquina property, which we know who owns it, which we know what the plans are and everything. But it's just something to
Hey, can I just say, I'm not opposed, I mean, I'm not on the board for much longer, but I'm not opposed to there being ultimately some board action, and I don't know what the nature would be that would make this stipulation, but I don't think that, I think that is a law. Yeah, and it doesn't work to put that into a zoning study.
but wait, I think, so
Yeah.
the way I'm reading this is that the way it's written now, consider allowing incentives to ensure inclusionary housing. The argument that the computer generated here is that by saying consider allowing incentives, you're foreclosing a future law that would require mandatory affordable housing for all. But I think, I mean, in a way, yes, but in a way, that's not what you're proposing, that's not what the proposal was. And so the land use study is kind of mimicking what your proposal is, which is an inclusionary housing proposal. So I think it's just a discussion item, whether you want to require more. I mean, you can always amend your plans,
Yeah.
right? If you decided you wanted to.
So what is being drafted wouldn't apply just to the Gateway North. It's proposed to apply to any housing development that's large within the village. So when we talk about this incentive, where they get a few more extra housing units because they limit some in terms of affordability, that's not just here. So I wanna make sure that we're all aware of that. And I think that it seems because RUPCO has been around, there's a concern that they will go away and then it's just housing. And I don't know.
But the village is going to adopt some inclusionary zoning. So
Yes.
the question is whether this language is too gushy, and that if they wanted to do mandatory inclusionary instead of incentive, if it would be prohibited, because it wouldn't be consistent with this language in the comp plan.
About the consider allowing?
Yeah,
That's
I
the
think
gushy?
that's the question.
The question.
Yeah, I think we left it gushy because after you adopt the land use study, you may all say,
And
we just decided we don't want any more affordable housing.
right, I mean, I know also,
So I wanted,
It's intent, you're saying
It's
it's
with
intentionally
intent.
flexible.
yes.
and
Yeah.
I mean, I know we haven't discussed the law yet, but the draft law that's been out for a while does actually say, right, because it creates the fund, it does stipulate what developers have to do. So,
What
So,
the-
so
what
let,
the
let me
one-
say this, because it's a
developer.
land use study, and remember.
right, no, I know, but I mean, like, so the gushiness would potentially still apply to unknown projects of future.
Yes. So if we stated at this point in time with the land use study, because you're adopting it as an amendment to your comp plan, if you say incentive, affordable housing shall be required and incentives will be given, you adopt this land use study, you can't go back without changing this study again. So oftentimes with a comp plan or a land use type study, you say a little bit nebulous wording like consider, just in case, as you go to write that law, something happens and you say, oh, maybe we don't want to do this. So that's why it says consider, it's with
So-
intent.
So, so with the word consider, we can make something mandatory. But if it says mandatory, we can't make it anything else.
Now
So
without
this
changes.
Under a strict interpretation of compliance
Of
with your
the-
comp.
So the way it's written
Yeah.
doesn't preclude us from requiring it down the road. But
Correct.
if we did it differently, it would tie our
Reduce
It-
options.
Yeah, and I guess a developer would say, you said that you were gonna require this and we're gonna get incentives, that's in your comp plan, comp plans have been used, you know? So again, I'd rather be a little bit, you know, not as committed on that objective.
Yeah,
It gives
it's just this
discretion to the
one-
board, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, please.
Just that if it's a little bit gushy, whatever, it then allows discretion to the board, because we are gonna have new members voting on this.
Gushy zone.
Esquire, gushy.
How often do I get the
Johnny.
chance?
Please don't vote.
I'm gonna tell you,
Yes.
I'm not sure I ever came across the word gushy before. Maybe somebody could define that for me. Gushy.
Did you just say gushy?
It just means that there's flexibility in it.
That was
Well,
Victoria's
first,
expression.
Could you define gushy for me?
The legal definition.
Okay, what I meant was, it's not a hard and fast rule, that there's a lot of room for a lot of gray area. And so, that was the question, and Ms. French just explained that that's intentional. It allows the village board, when they go to adopt the local law, to have more standards. But it's true, if the next iteration of this village board decides they want to go in a different direction, it allows them to do that. It doesn't hold them to a specific
And it
standard.
seems to me, in this one, as compared to what we did before, you want there to be some gray area.
For
You
this.
don't want this to be hard and fast rule that you gotta,
Right. This is
you wanna leave it as ambiguous as possible.
This is aspirational, whereas the zoning is going to make it law, legal with standards.
And also recognizing that this is the first time that the village is considering putting affordable housing or workforce housing into its zoning. So the other is, that's also part of our process, is learning what that looks like, understanding the implications, and I think, you know, I think for me, there's clarity that we want to do that, but Brett's the right way to do that.
I think it's actually useful that you just explained that these kinds of planning documents are aspirational, and your zoning doesn't have to get there and implement it all at once.
Right.
You can take baby steps implementing little pieces at a time. It doesn't need to be a complete overhaul every time you adopt a zoning law. So I just want to keep that in mind too as you go forward.
Every time you adopt a
This study.
zoning study.
What
Amendment.
because
Amendment.
The law doesn't have to
You can
follow
adopt-
everything in the study.
Correct,
It
you
does,
can
it
adopt laws
absolutely has to, yeah.
in pieces.
pieces.
Right.
Yes, it
Right.
doesn't have to.
And it could be
not
over
accomplish it.
2, 3, 4 years. It doesn't happen the next day.
Okay,
Okay,
Okay?
all right, so
Are we
we've
good with
gone
5?
through
yeah. we'll do it.
all, I think we have our
We have those.
amended,
and then
amended options.
Additional. I think traffic was one.
Well, but we've added an awful lot around traffic calming and traffic.
We'll have some comments, right, but we're not.
You know, I realized that
Those are
I
in the
meant
draft
to, we did have 2 responses from members of the planning board. They're not speaking as the planning board, but they are members of. And so they're on the record, but let me just add, I think you all have a copy from Elizabeth Pagano, who is the planning board chair. She's been on the planning board for many years, so she has the perspective of working with our comprehensive plan and its amendments. She is also a resident of the proposed North Broadway land use and zoning study. She's actually on the west side. I'm welcoming of the new neighborhood at the north end of the village and appreciate that it is planned to be a mix of rental and single family. Both of these are much needed. I feel strongly about some aspects of this proposal, that it should be connected to the village in as many ways as possible in the harmony with the single family homes located across the street. So following the pattern book will be very important. As an avid walker in the village, I also feel very strongly that the connector road connecting the Cookingham Ross and down to CVS is very important for both safety and a vibrant village. The new road would provide for new retail and housing to be built along the new street, and walking into the village would be safe for everyone. Speed bumps have been successful on River Road in the town and would likely keep traffic speeds lower. I think the TND concept does work, as the planning board is currently working to have the streetscape be less focused on building front parking as properties turn over and street side landscaping is being encouraged, as it was with CVS and Lofty, and as was required of Mighty Donuts by the town. Retail uses should remain as they are in the rest of the village. Small mom and pop or small business. Drive-through windows should not be permitted. Density should be encouraged in the area as a way to get more affordable units, and I am supportive of using incentive zoning to encourage, in order to accomplish the village's goals. This has worked well in many areas of New York in order to create such things as public parks in areas which do not have access to parks. Infrastructure is an issue in the area. I feel strongly that there should be a review of any estimate put forth by the developer so construction costs can be fully covered in the process and the village does not end up needing to make up a shortfall. So that's that. And then, yeah, the other is from Francisco Pujol, and most of his comments are very specific to the zoning law. So I'm not going to read those, but I think, Bonnie, I sent those to you, so we have those.
We did have earlier a planning board member and a ZBA member of both of those boards comment in
Yes.
previous times.
In
Just to-
previous- yes.
We've gotten.
So I think that
You didn't get that, just to add.
I will make sure that I send it to you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So the next item is just to go, so because we don't have the county comments,
I should
enough.
check my, just in
check your
case.
email. And
Their day and so forth, and we check as well.
I don't see it.
no. What I want to do is to go through the seeker process, which is something that we're required to do, and then just review the resolution that I'm proposing that we put on the agenda for the 23rd of March. Obviously, if the county comes back with substantive comments, then we will need to redo another public hearing for public comments. I mean, frankly, the public is always welcome to send in comments if they'd like. So Bonnie, perhaps you can take us through the
documents.
full environmental assessment form,
Sure.
and just sort of explain why we're doing this form and a little bit about seeker.
Sure. So, adoption of this land use study is subject to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. And because the study area involves more than 25 acres, and in addition, there are National Register properties within the study area, it makes it a type 1 action. And a type 1 action is one that's more likely to have a potential adverse impact. So when a environmental assessment form is prepared, it's the full environmental assessment form. Victoria can speak to this, but this is a situation where you're the sole involved agency. There's no one else that can render a decision related to whether the zoning is passed. The county GML review, the county's review, is advisory. So they're not an involved agency. So only you can conduct the seeker process. We prepared a full EAF part 1, and we have a suggested part 2. The part 1 is very short. If you read the instructions, it states you fill out this first section and ignore the rest, because this is not a site-specific project. This is the adoption of policy. So we filled out the very beginning, and then after preparing the FEAF Part 1, we prepared the FEAF Part 2. And you'll see that all the impacts are either none or minimal, because you're adopting policy. You're not making any determinations based on site-specific development applications. That's going to be done separately. The only one I checked that might have an impact, and it's because of the way that particular impact is worded, it says something to the effect of, do you have historic resources in the area?
So just to orient everyone,
Yes.
this is full environmental assessment form part 2.
Yeah.
It's page 6 of 10, and it's number 10, which is listed as impact on historic and archaeological resources.
Yes.
And it says the proposed action may occur in or adjacent to a historic or archaeological resource.
10 of them.
So the answer would be yes, because it might incur in or adjacent to.
Right, so we have to check that. And so that's the FEAF Part 2, which evaluates the magnitude of the impact. And then we put a little narrative together.
Just to go back, number 17 on page 10 is consistency with community plans. It says the proposed action is not consistent with adopted.
17?
The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans.
It's a double negative.
Right, so
It's,
it
So
is consistent, so it's a yes? Is that why it's a yes?
Yes.
Okay, that's very confusing.
The last two are double negatives.
I don't know why they chose to write the form that way.
It's crazy.
it's a state.
Because number 18 says consistency with community character, and that one says the proposed project is inconsistent, and it is consistent, so therefore that's a no.
So Bonnie, can you just clarify for
Yes.
purposes of this discussion?
Yep.
This seeker review is on not only the adoption of the plan, but on the next set of the law, which is going to implement portions of the plan.
Well, so we're going to do, we decided we were going to do a separate seeker on that.
Okay.
Yes. So because,
Seems simpler to just separate the two. This is a document in and of
So-
itself, and
Yeah.
then we'll do it for the.
Okay, so it's just on the land use.
correct. So we'll have to do this again for the zoning that gets
Law.
implemented. So after the part 2, I just have a little narrative because I want to express that adoption alone will not create impacts, but that you will have site-specific project reviews when they're submitted. Sometimes individuals will say, oh, you said there were no impacts, so I now don't have to do seeker. And that's why I like to have the narrative that says, no, there's gonna be a site-specific seeker review and there may be impacts. This is just related to the law itself.
And then part 3 is,
Is a form, and that just essentially culminates in you deciding and checking the boxes whether you think that this would have a significant impact on the environment. If you were to say yes, that's a positive declaration, but if you think that there will not be an impact, you say no, there will not be, and that is essentially considered a negative declaration. There's no impact.
Part 3 is really the signature page where you
Right.
sign what happened.
right, so the narrative,
Yeah.
officially the narrative is part of the first part of the
Mhm.
reasons, if you will. So that's the process, and then the resolution, which you all have a copy of. Victoria, if you want to maybe go through the resolution, just to clarify what it is, and
Sure, just give me 1 second, hold it up.
I also have a printed copy if you'd like.
Okay, so essentially, the first part of the resolution lays out the history, what you've been doing, that you've held 2 public hearings, and you kept the second hearing open for, it says March 9th, but really it's.
What is
Yeah,
March
yeah.
9th, because we just.
So through March 9th, right. So you kept that hearing open to March 9th. It currently says that we received a response for Dutchess County Planning today, but we didn't get it, so that will have to be updated. But again, these are just recitals about the history of what you've been doing. It says you've reviewed parts 1, 2, and 3 of the EAF, and you've considered the criteria in 6 NYCRR 617.7, that's the criteria for determining significance and environmental impacts. And then there's a resolve clause. So the first thing, you authorize the mayor to execute page 13 of the EAF. The second, you're declaring it a type 1 seeker action and stating that there are no other involved agencies. You're the only agency with any approval authority. Third, you adopt a determination of significance, which in this case would be a negative declaration, determining that the adoption of this corridor study is not going to have any significant adverse impacts on the environment. And I think Bonnie went through this before, but environment's defined very broadly. It's traffic, it's water, it's sewer, but it's also community character and land use plans. And then fourth, it allows the proposed amendment, which is defined up above, it's the corridor plan, to be adopted as an amendment to the village's comprehensive plan. And then it directs the clerk to append a copy to the comprehensive plan and to make any other notations. So you might need to write on the cover, like, amendment, appendix B or something adopted on March 22nd, 2026. However you want to work that out, but.
With your guidance.
Yeah, we'll come and figure it out.
I have a question.
Sure.
Nunc pro tunc?
Yes, that is legalese.
I figured that. Probably Latin.
It is Latin.
Nunc is
Basically, it's authorizing you to sign the EAF, which is what is what the county required and you had to submit. So just formally authorizing that for the record.
That's it. That was a new phrase. I hadn't seen that one before.
I'm sure Mr. Macarini could find it for us, right?
Now is before.
Thank you.
Not as before. There you go. How much simpler to say, but fancier to say nunc
It's more
pro
fun to
tunc.
say nunc pro tunc.
So that's the remaining process, and so once we get the county comments, we'll forward the county comments. I'll ask you for just your overview of those comments, i.e. this doesn't change the meaning or there's something substantive in there, and then the intention would be. I mean, they said they were going to have them today, so I expect that we will have them sometime this week, which will put us in a position to finalize the process at our workshop on March 23rd.
And then between now and your workshop, we'll work on amending the document as per our discussions. I'll do a red line just so everybody can make sure that that's what everybody agreed to.
And so you'll take out all the current highlighting and just do a red line
Yes.
up front tonight.
Yep. I had done that for myself already.
Great.
That was posted, but yes. But I will still do another red line just so you can see that it's a where you adopt.
Perfect. Okay, I think that's everything as it relates to the land use study.
If anybody has seeker questions, we should ask them while these fine folks are here, since they won't be at the workshop.
Yes, very true. Any questions regarding the seeker documents or the? Okay. What? Go ahead.
Which secret documents?
So the full environmental assessment form? There's part 1, 2, yeah, there's parts 1, 2, and 3.
Well, I don't think
Let
we
me
need to
just
go through
review.
parts 1, because that is the factual part. That's
Just if they have
Right.
any
Yeah.
questions.
Part 2 is the question section, where the board has to answer yes or no to each of the questions.
That's part 1.
No, even if they're negative, 2 negatives, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
even the double negative, you have to answer
They've
it.
confirmed that we've answered them appropriately.
Yes.
So if you have any questions about how they've been answered, we should discuss that.
My only question was on this proposed resolution. And you touched on it just a few minutes ago, that the proposed amendment will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. I don't know what that means.
Sure, so that's, under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, it's the law that requires every agency of the state to consider the impacts of its actions, here, adoption of a land use corridor study, on the environment. So the environment includes traffic, water, historic resources, all of those things are part of our environment. And so you are tasked with going through an analysis to decide whether this plan in and of itself is going to have an impact on the environment. And so it's much easier when we're dealing with physical
At some
disturbance.
level, it can't help but have some impact on the environment. So
Right.
that's
It's
why
gonna-
my
it
question
could
is,
have-
what does it mean by significant?
Well, significant, again, it's in your discretion, and when you're looking at significant, you have to consider the magnitude of the impact, its permanence, is it a temporary impact, is it a short-term duration? And so there's a whole analysis that goes into that, and I can pull out the workbook and we can talk through it if you'd like. Generally, when you are dealing with something physical disturbance, it's much easier to picture actual impact on the environment. This could have some growth-inducing impacts. You're going to be allowing more cars, you're going to be allowing more people, because this would allow the next step of that zoning. Does your narrative address this?
Growth inducing. It's whatever's in regard to FEAF, which covers community character. It doesn't really, I don't think because growth inducing comes under EISs typically.
I know,
Yeah.
but so if you'd like, we can get a little more narrative. Because it's a state highway, it's a very high bar to have a traffic impact on a state highway, because just the sheer number of cars that go up and down it every day, and it's designed for a lot of cars.
Yeah.
But did you have ITE numbers for this kind of development in the narrative?
Not for this, if anything, when we get to the zoning, because the zoning's going to be much more concrete. So the FEAF that's created for that will get more into actual numbers. This is really, again, aspirational. It's a land use study, it's goals and objectives, but when you actually create the zoning, now you're saying you're allowed to do this by law. And that's when we get into the traffic, how many trips, what's the worst case, just to give get yourselves a sense of what could be developed. Almost like a little mini build-out analysis.
Mini one?
Like a mini build-out analysis. So if you're zoning something, if it's a 10-acre parcel and you say you need a minimum 1 acre, lot sizes, you might get up to 10, let's just theoretically, up to 10 units. That's different than if you say you're allowed up to 6 dwelling units per acre. That analysis is going to be different, and so we'll get a little more into numbers with the zoning. Because we have to
Because we're
see where you
specific.
land, right, we have to see where you land with the zoning parameters.
So one school of thought here is that the study in and of itself isn't allowing any new development, because you still have to enact the zoning to allow it. And so the study itself
Right.
Is that's
Just, exactly, just like we just talked about the word consider. So we're saying consider, but what you actually decide to enact may be different. So it's aspirational, once you write the zoning, that's actually committing you to a path of what you're gonna do from a land use perspective and density perspective or intensity, yes.
So, and that's why I asked earlier if we were doing seeker on both the future zoning and the study, or just the study?
The former, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
this is just on study.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question, Tony?
Well, the question was, has the significant impact?
What significance? Yeah, okay. So, when,
But in this particular case, because it's on the study and the study itself doesn't change our zoning, it therefore would not be significant because there's effectively no change because we haven't done the zoning.
Right.
I mean, it implies a certain type of zoning, but
It
there's
implies certain uses.
a certain amount of flexibility, so
Right,
it's sort of in line with what we have already. But the specifics, like however many per parcel or per acre, that we haven't gotten to that granular level of detail to be able to evaluate, how many more cars might drive down a road or what have you.
Right, because it's an amendment to our comp plan, we can't disagree with the comp plan that's already there, right? So we're not changing anything. Sort of, is that, no?
I'd ask that
it
question.
sort of overrules, I mean,
You can overrule
it
an amendment.
overrules related to that area that we've studied.
Got it, okay.
newer in time,
Yes.
maybe we did.
It sort of updates rather than overrules.
So
Either way, it doesn't affect the,
when it comes time,
it's okay.
Trustee McRaney to review the seeker,
For the,
well, just in general,
For the
like,
in general, okay.
a significant impact, because a lot of your actions on this board are subject to seeker. You have to look at the scale, which is the size and intensity of the change or the project, the context. So, are you building a building in the middle of a very rural area, or are we looking at infill in an area that already has sidewalks and water and sewer and infrastructure? So context, and then you have to decide about whether the impacts will be small, moderate, large. So there's a lot of discretion built in, but you have to draw on your own knowledge and understanding of the area and what the change will be, whether you think it will be, very large in magnitude or very small in magnitude. So and that's something.
Something in between. So
Unfortunately,
significant,
it was written by planners, and it creates a lot of. For attorneys, these standards result in a ton of litigation all the time because two parties can take the same standards and use it in their own way. No, I was just teasing about the planners, but seeker is not. Seeker, there's a lot of discretion for you, and I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
but presumably significant is meant to mean significant. In that,
Well, it's significant and adverse.
Yes.
It's not just significant, it has to be adverse. So, and
significant is on the bigger side as opposed to
right.
the smaller side.
So if you had a traffic change and the way they measure impacts or measure operations is levels of service. And it's almost like a card, where you get A to F. Or A is the best functioning, B still functions, C is average functioning, D you're getting not great, they skipped D and then went to F. So if you talk about a change, an impact where you go from A to B, that's not gonna be considered significant. If you go from A to C, now we're starting to look at, all right,
And you mitigate it,
yes,
you need a turn lane.
right. And that's the thing, because if you just looked at it unmitigated, you might say, okay, and so significant adverse impact means you're going to prepare an environmental impact statement. That's what that means if you make that determination. You're gonna go through a much more robust environmental process. But if the applicant says, but I'm gonna put in turning lanes and a traffic light and, that means that when I put all those improvements in, I can stay at a level of service A. then with the modifications, they have mitigated the impact and they don't have a significant adverse impact. And Victoria wants to go into history. I mean, it used to be that we saw a lot of environmental impact statements. And then there was some case law that came along where a developer could continue to modify his project to get to a point where you no longer said it was significant. And they didn't have to prepare. There you go. You didn't have to prepare an EIS.
So, I mean, Bonnie, I was joking earlier, she's much smarter than I am at all of this. There's intentionally flexibility built in because the same, across the entire state, every community has to apply this same rule. And in Yonkers, New York, what is significant looks very different than what is significant right here in the village of Red Hook. And so they didn't provide you with hard and fast standards. They're leaving a lot to you as community members to identify the context, the scale, the duration, the magnitude.
That's a great point. It's
So-
context, because you're not Westchester County. You know, you're not Yonkers, so what happens here, you may consider something significant that they may just, not a big deal. So context is important.
So if you have questions, they do, the workbooks that the state has put out do offer some examples. So, a 100,000 square foot warehouse in a city versus a 100,000 square foot warehouse in Montgomery. Traffic impacts, for instance, engineers have put together lots of charts and data about what rises to the level of significant traffic impact, certain number of cars per hour. And so, we can provide that information if you have a question.
But I think the point is that when you're reviewing this, you're supposed to determine whether there's one significant adverse impact. And if there is, you have to go the route of environmental impact statement.
Or mitigation.
Or mitigation. Yeah. That's secret.
The environmental impact discussion sort of reminds me of something that maybe I should have brought up when we were talking about the historic resources section, which is the Cherry Graves Street building pattern, which I had at the back of the handout, making the land use study amateur friendly. Because the study does go into describing a lot of those very specific, it's a very special, unique part of the village in terms of the roadside, pre-automobile roads, the front porches, all of the different kinds of things, but we don't actually inventory, we don't like call them out.
We don't do a building by building,
They get no
but
treatment.
we provide this, we talk about the building pattern and what is unifying in that area, what is common to a lot of the buildings there. And it's really, especially as you get close to the Elmendorf Inn, little,
Cherry,
yeah.
Just to clarify, the plan was to remove the narrative in the document as is up through the United Methodist Church Cemetery
Yes.
and leave in the historic building patterns and the map.
Oh, okay, very good.
So that will still be in the main
Okay.
body of the document.
Yes.
And just based on what you said, I just wanted to clarify that was
Thank you.
the intention. So it'll still be in the main part of the document. Okay, any other questions, again, while we have our wonderful professionals here?
Thank you for
Any
being
further
here. Very helpful.
questions related to seeker
We're a good team.
resolution,
Great team.
the land use study?
Basically.
No question, everybody good? Yep.
I'm okay.
Okay,
Just like to thank them for coming.
Yeah.
absolutely.
You're very welcome.
Information.
I have to say, you are a very, very, very great board at reviewing and deliberating and really thinking about the words that are in there. And I appreciate all the work that everybody did, really. It's appreciated from our perspective, too. Thank you.
Means we're leaving, I guess. So thank you both. You do not need to stay for anything further. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for your time.
Unless there are buttons for questions.
Well, I mean, you're always welcome to stay, but, yes, I do, the next item on the agenda actually is public comment. So if anyone would like to make public comment on literally anything.
On the agenda.
No, actually, anyone can make a comment on anything. We just ask you to restrict it to 3 minutes and ask you to, if you just come on up and state your name and where you live, to give us a sense of where you're.
My name is Wendy Smith, and I live at 14 Margaret Street in the Village of Red Hook. And I know you keep talking about the impact of Cherry Street and the homes there. My home is right, this is my backyard that you're talking about, that all these homes are going to go up. And I don't feel that anyone's considering, like, you know, all the traffic that, I mean, I have people that are in my household that have health conditions, and the impact of all this, all the cars that are going to be going down, how it's going to impact someone that has asthma and other things. And when I'm sitting out in my backyard, what I'm going to be looking at. And all I hear is about Cherry Street. What about Margaret Street? I live on Margaret Street. And are you considering that? I mean, I've lived in Red Hook over 20 years, and I've paid taxes here. And I feel that you should also be considering the other streets that are involved, not just Cherry Street. Thank you.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, hearing none, move on.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. Given the hour, I don't want to go into too much depth as it relates to an AI policy. You have in your packets, there's one, and this is literally a draft. This is meant for discussion, and I think both drafts are meant for discussion. The first one with the Village's logo, that is based on the town of Wappinger's AI policy that they just adopted in December of 2025. It's got a few minor additions to it that I thought were relevant to the Village of Red Hook. My intent in looking at an AI policy was not only, I mean, Fran obviously is very comfortable and active in using AI. AI is everywhere. It's coming upon us very rapidly, and I just thought it was an appropriate time to discuss how we as a board would use AI, acknowledge the use of it, and also recognize that there are both positives, there are ways to add value, help out, and there are also there's liability and there's risk associated with AI. So it seemed to me that it was appropriate to bring forth a policy. Fran has also drafted a policy that she incorporated into a resolution. And I wanted to get a sense from the board as to how you see AI. I will say that the employees who work in Village Hall, I mean, we are all employees of the village as elected officials, but the non-elected official employees, we have a very wide variety of comfort with technology, period, and thus comfort with the idea of AI. I think the implications of going too far in the use of AI too quickly for the employees is, I think we just need to be very mindful of how we do that. There's cybersecurity, there's once it's out there, this is a particular situation where we can't bring it back. So I think it's good to start a discussion about how we might use AI effectively for the employees inside Village Hall, I'd say, the non-elected ones. And so I don't think we as an organization are ready to go very far in saying, oh, we're going to use this, because I think we have a lot more work to do before we're ready to do that. But again, I sort of wanted to create a framework to acknowledge that AI exists, that AI is usable, it can be very valuable, but there's also risks associated with it. So that was sort of the spirit of, I looked at several AI policies. The state now has an AI policy for its employees. So I would love to just hear from you all as to if you've looked at these two, if you have any thoughts or commentary on them, just so that it just, again, we're not passing anything tonight. This is really just bringing it up so we can begin a conversation, because I would like to get to an AI policy sometime in the relatively near future, because I think it's important.
Can I make a comment on Brandon's document that I really appreciated this thing where you said a note on how this document was prepared, because it really helped me understand your goals, and that is, I think that was very nice, thank you.
Tony?
This is all new to me. So I actually would like to move to put this over to another meeting. We have a little more time to digest this, okay?
Sure.
I mean, just looking at it quickly, I don't know if it's a mandate.
It's not a mandate, it is not.
Or how we enforce it. So I'd like to put this over to another meeting.
I think the mayor already said that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, just if I may, just in brief, I think what we were discussing earlier, where we were talking about the historic resources and some of the things that I brought in, that I was assisted that I did with the assistance of an AI agent, but we talked about how we could annotate in a document how exactly it came about, that it is from me, with using the AI to pull data and things that I don't have right this second. I mean, if I had if I had general municipal law printed out, right, yeah, I could like find the page and I could write, but that's what AI allows me to do, is just get things that I don't have immediately to hand, but it's not doing any drafting. That's me getting assistance from it. So when Malcolka talks about this note, that's basically what Amy was requesting.
Which is why
Yeah.
I'm moving to table this.
No, understood, and I just, Amy, go ahead, if you have some thoughts.
I do. I think that some of the AI tool, because we were all given this ahead of time, some of the stuff on the second page, A through F, that says may use this, including but not limited to. I mean, drafting local laws, some of these things I think go too far. And the reason is that again, I've said it before, I'm a public librarian, so I have a lot of concerns about information. We don't yet know the ways in which AI is going to change, and the ways in which someone may commodify the information gleaned from developing AI models. But in addition to that, I think that your table is a list of facts. Not all of these things are similar to that. And there is an interpretive role that is played when we draft correspondence, memoranda, local laws, and resolutions. Just as an example, the things you list in Part B. So my concern is that we spend some time at a future meeting talking about interpretive behaviors and not simply what chapter of law is this, because these are interpretive purposes, some of them. They are not, what chapter of law talks about whether or not you can walk a dog on leash, right? That is, give me a fact that I don't have immediately at hand. Researching policy options, drafting correspondence, memoranda, local laws, resolutions, those are not asking for facts, those are interpretive. And I'm concerned about that. The other thing I would say is, I agree, I like the note you put. There is, I would think, I am obviously not a lawyer,
If
but...
I can, there's a motion.
Why-
There's a motion on the table.
Why are you interrupting?
Why are you interrupting me?
Because
hold on.
I.
You made a motion, there was not a second. What I was looking for was just an initial commentary. I wasn't looking to get to an end result. And so let Amy just finish what you're saying, and then we'll move on.
Okay, I think that there is, let's say, because we're all human, we make a mistake in our review of something. We're not individually land use attorneys or planning professionals or village attorneys. We don't necessarily have the expertise to always, let me finish.
I've not said a thing, I'm just
Okay.
pointing.
Yeah. We don't necessarily have the expertise. And what happens when we cede some of that to AI is it contributes to this general idea that anybody's opinion is equally, not opinion, but this whole country is very rapidly racing towards no respect for professional experience or training or the expertise in general. And I think that over-relying on AI contributes to that. I mean, we pay these professionals to give us insights that we don't have. Anyway, that's just my feeling.
Thank you. No, and that is what I was, I just wanted to touch on it because I do think it's an important discussion, and I think there may end up being two pieces to it. One is, what's the basis of a policy of, how we just some basic ground rules, I guess. And then the other would be a greater discussion on how we start to look at how we might use AI or not use AI as we go forward. But that was really all I wanted to do on that item. The next item on the agenda is...
Can I say just one last thing and be very, very brief?
Yes, it's brief.
Just that this table, I think, will lead to good discussion. The thing where you break out what you're hoping to do. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the sewer fund financial review.
I'm sorry, by table, did you mean?
She means that,
Yeah, the note at the end. I just think that we're
The
going to be
great
able to
part.
discuss concept. It's going to be very helpful.
Thank you.
Before that.
So you all have an Excel spreadsheet that has the actual expenditure. What I realized in looking at this again is we started operations of a sewer system in December of 2020. So there's another column that I need to add in the history piece. But more importantly, we have 2024, 25, those are actuals. And then we have the actual through 3/2, which was a week ago. So there are some things, if you looked at the sewer, document, the actual versus budget that Mary Beth put together, it's got some more expenses in it. So it doesn't match exactly, but the expenses that are in there should be in the remaining, are incorporated in the remaining expenses, or at least assumed. So this is where the numbers come from. At this point, it shows, and at the very bottom is where I put the general fund advance, because I wanted to show more comparative across the top, and also across the expenses. And you'll note I put the payment of the sewer principal below the total before debt service, and that's great. I show in this fiscal year paying back $30,000. The issue is going to be cash flow because the remainder of the O&M receipts and the capital receipts we bill quarterly, and so the bill, the next bill that goes out after the one that just went out is going to be the end of June, beginning of July 1.
We have one going out April 1st.
Oh, sorry, April. We've been ahead.
June 1st.
April 1st, but we will receive all of those receipts.
No, and then July 1st.
And then July 1st, and 2/3 of the July 1st bill will go to this fiscal year. So we won't get the cash until July. So there's going to be a cash flow issue in terms of, so we will likely have to borrow, I'm thinking in my head 200,000, but it could be the 205, 200. But this lays it out. The estimated ongoing costs, one of the reasons why We had so many additional expenses in 24-25 and 25-26. It was the end of 2024 where we became aware that we had a significant problem with our operations. And so we have been doing all manner of things to address that. We still have a few items that, I mean, we are still operating in a somewhat temporary situation. We do have the capital project that will be fully funded by a grant from the county. And so we are now at a place where we can see what an appropriate estimate for ongoing costs will be. To say they will be exactly this would be incorrect. Things do happen. But this is an estimate that has been put together by the sewer operations team, which includes our engineer, our operator, our sewer clerk, myself. I think that's who's in the room. So and our DPW foreman. So those are the folks who are intimately involved in the day-to-day associated with operating the sewer. So that's where the $215,360 comes from versus the $314 that we expect to spend this year. So that, this is the next steps related to that extra amount is I will be looking at options, understanding those options in terms of borrowing funds, and I will bring that all back to you. My expectation is we will obviously, not my expectation, we will borrow the funds by the end of May. We will obviously have interest payments to make. I'm hoping that we are able to contain those as much as possible. So the details of the borrowing, et cetera, is to come, but this gives you a sense of very specific where we are. Any questions at this point?
Yes, please.
Sure.
So you have the asterisks, where it's at the bottom where it says based on cash flow, this payment, which I'm assuming is the repayment of the interfund advance, will be made in the next fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
But we had cited GML 9-A as the legal authority for making the interfund.
So we will borrow $205,000 prior to the end of the year. The borrowed money the $205,000 will go back to the general fund, and then the sewer fund needs to pay back the bank that gave us that loan.
So there's an external loan you're talking about now?
Yes.
But
that was always the intention, because we have to pay the general fund
No,
back.
I understand, but that was with the interfunded funds from general.
Yes. And we will not have $205,000 available in 4 months to pay it back.
Yes, I understand. So then what is represented by this 30 that we will be paying back?
So we have to pay back the loan, and so this would be an initial payment towards that loan.
But then what is the term of that initial payment?
That's what I will be coming back to you with.
But we passed the resolution already, and this expresses intent, because if you say payment will be made in the next fiscal year, but our obligation is to make the payment back in this fiscal with interest, how do we?
So the general fund is, we will be taking an advance of cash from the general fund.
Correct.
To pay our debt obligation in March.
Yes.
Before the end of May, we will borrow from an exterior source.
Okay, so that's the bit that I don't have, because that's not come up before.
I'm sorry, I thought it was clear when I said we were going to do an advance and pay it back before the end of the fiscal year that we would borrow. This gives us the time to borrow the funds from elsewhere.
Yes.
I would love
that I gave Daily Catch about how there's.
I would love to come up with a source of other funding that doesn't require to be paid back. I'm looking for it, but I don't expect it to be there.
This is to pay off the outstanding bond, is that?
So we are borrowing cash from the general fund that was approved by the board to pay the bill, which is in March. And then we will then borrow from the bank to pay back the general fund. And then the sewer fund will pay that loan off over time. And the specifics of that are to come.
This gave us time to get the best deal that she will put, in front of us to vote on.
That's what I understood we would be doing when we voted.
Yes, but also at the beginning, you had said, and I thought this was correct, that by not taking out an outside loan, we would be saving on closing costs. And why, if we have, as you said, the cash in general fund, why would we not just make that a subsidy like we do from water? And then you're allowed to inter-borrow.
We are, but based on advice from council, we are required to pay that back by the end of our fiscal year. If there's a way to not pay it back and pay it back over time just to general fund, I will bring that to you. I have not found that the law seemed to be pretty clear that we have to pay, that we cannot keep that advance past the end of the fiscal year.
Is it something to do with, like with water, it is service fees, and that's different than taxes, which
Correct.
is what is in the general fund, so they have different.
There are different
Overlap.
rules. There are
Yeah,
definitely
that's
different
just-
rules,
yeah.
for sure.
But even further to that, there's the rule, so we have the GML 9-A, but there's also GML 453, which states that sewer funds can only be used, sewer rents can only be applied for sewer costs. So the proposal of paying back general fund from sewer is not supported in law. Like, it's just not something we're allowed to do.
I'm not sure, so we borrowed cash from the general fund and we're required to pay it back.
We are required to pay it back if it is a loan.
Which
We would not be.
Which it is, because it has to be.
But if it is a loan, then it has to be paid back
Right.
with interest, and yes.
I
It's
mean,
not
honestly,
clear for me from this that that is what is happening.
if you have found something that indicates that we can keep, that we can use the general fund for a longer term loan, I would love that information. I did check with legal counsel. It was confirmed that there's a specific law that I think you just cited that said if we borrow from the general fund, we have to pay it back within the fiscal year in which we borrowed it. So if there's an alternative to that, now I'd be willing to bet that there are municipalities that have borrowed from other funds and haven't paid it back right away, but that's not correct by law.
No, absolutely, it is not. But my only point is that this is not supported by the resolution that we approved. So if
I'm not sure how it's not supported.
this is a proposal to pay back this interfund advance from general, from sewer, 30,000.
No.
So the piece that's missing, that maybe and I guess I didn't know how to articulate it in this chart. The 205,000 that's being borrowed from general fund will turn into a loan to a bank. And so the 30,000 is paying the bank back.
Yeah.
Because we will have just replaced the cash that we borrowed from general fund with cash from a bank in a loan. And you're right, I didn't write that out clearly,
Receiving that 30.
but that's the intent. That is.
Yeah, the confusion for me was just because you have the 205, like, this is as I understand, this is a projections sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're doing borrowing and returning, like, the fact that the borrowing from general fund, the advance as you have it here, is in a projection sheet, like estimated end of the year. By the end of the year, there will be no loan. Like, it's like.
Right.
And obviously that's not correct. By the end of the year, there will not be an advance from the general fund, but there will be a loan. because we are not generating enough extra monies to pay back 205 this year all at once.
But
What's the next payment due after this one?
For the big bond, it's next March,
A year?
yes.
It'll be about the same amount maybe?
It'll be exactly the same amount. And we have adjusted our O&M rates to cover the cost, the ongoing cost of the O&M. So the monies that comes in for the capital payment will be in the bank to pay the capital payment next year.
So that's what you were saying about the rents, the sewer money, because we have two different types of bill, right? That's what allows us to use, to pay back the bond, the O&M versus the,
To pay whom? To pay,
So we'll ultimately pay back the bank from the sewer funds.
and also the USDA reserve.
the USDA reserve, that's just creating.
No, I know, I meant the reason we have a bond payment now. Right, like what Karen was just saying to Tony in answer to the question for next year. She said, we will have the O&M funds, so we will be able to make that payment.
It's actually capital funds.
Capital
There's a
funds.
capital charge and
Capital
an O&M
charge.
charge. So
But-
the capital charge covers the cost of the payment.
Right, Fran was citing, I used the wrong word, but Fran was citing a law that's saying that money you take in for use of sewer has to be used for sewer functions. And that happens, but we also have another line of income that is used, that doesn't have to be used that way. That's what the capital charge is. I was saying O&M, but I meant the other.
I totally followed that, that's okay.
Well, we have
It's
two
okay.
different types of money coming in. We can use them differently going out. That's all.
All I was saying is in the same way that we have the interfund transfer listed as 30 from water that we have in the, what would get us out of the situation where we have this GML 9-A where we're not actually returning with interest in the same fiscal is if you have the amount that we are taking as an advance from the general fund, if you call that just as with the $30,000 we have from water, if you put that in as a line from the general fund, then there's no interest, there's no requirement.
The issue is that the rules are different for water, for revenue from the water fund than it is from the general fund. There are two different rules.
Sure, but we.
So from the water fund, there is a law, and actually it's on our website as well, that allows for monies surplus from the water fund to be used basically however we want.
Correct.
So we can transfer that to the sewer fund. As a transfer, it's not a loan.
Yes.
The general
absolutely.
fund is not allowed to do that.
The general fund can put money anywhere. The general fund can,
No.
you can.
If you have,
Not a
I
loan,
mean,
I mean an interfund transfer. You can do, the only thing you cannot transfer from is sewer. The water, the general, as everything works out. It's not the same way that you can transfer from water, you can transfer from general, you cannot transfer from sewer either to general or to water.
So
because-
I think
Unfortunately,
this
the
goes-
village attorneys disagree.
Yeah, I think this is going into an interpretation of the law, right? So we got an interpretation from our attorney.
I
the
will
village
certainly
That's
ask the
fine.
question differently. I mean, it's also a very different decision than what the resolution we passed was, because what we passed was an advance. It wasn't a transfer, not to be paid back. So that's a very different question as to whether or not we want the general fund to fund the sewer. I have been told that that is not allowed. So I will certainly ask the question, and I will come back to you with an answer on that, as I say, from all the financial people that I have spoken to, including our attorney. That's not allowed from the general fund.
But these projections support the resolution that we did pass.
Except for the, will be made in the next fiscal year for the
No,
returning.
because
That's just paying off,
that's
that's just
paying the
paying off
bank.
the loan.
That's paying the bank, not the general fund. The general fund will be paid within the fiscal year.
And an outstanding loan isn't normally shown on the profit and loss statement.
What has to be
Specific.
We said that
Well,
the
this is
general
the
fund,
budget, though.
we said that the general fund would be repaid. So the general fund will be repaid within the fiscal year.
Very good.
If you have any, I'd be more than happy to go through it in more detail if you'd like. But the idea is that the advance would be replaced by that loan. Okay.
Yeah, just really quickly, I just wanted to say as well that I felt that in my asking questions related to this spreadsheet, I have not been received in the spirit in which I have intended my questions. I have felt from various people on this dais that I was being non-collaborative, or I was being confrontational, or any number of words, and it is just my intent to understand what we are proposing, what we are releasing as data to the public, and so I've not loved that there have been emails and just a general tone that I have felt has not been welcoming of questions just related to how we are working. No gotchas, not trying to call anybody out, but it has felt that way in responses that I've received.
And I can also say that I think sometimes when you send an email, for example, it can be interpreted differently than you intend. And so sometimes you may receive a response that isn't what you expect, because perhaps it was received not in the way that you intended. So I think that's part of the issue that I think we all need to work on, is to understand that we're all trying to work and do our best to do what we all think is best for the village. And so I would also ask you to be mindful of perhaps recognizing that sometimes your intent isn't always received the way you intended.
But the only thing is, if I ask questions that have nothing to do with, there's no editorializing, there's no, this is how I think you should have done something, it's literally just my asking, what are the end of years? In all of my communications, it has never, there's no kind of value judgments, there's no kind of, but I have received several emails that
Well, it just in making an assumption as to what emails you're referring to, something like a projection would be, that's what I do, and so that needs to come to me. The treasurer has a full-time job, and any kind of projection is going to come from me. So, and so that's, if I don't get to it right away, that I'm the one you need to talk to, and ask, where is it? How can I help you get it, etc. So I don't think I certainly am not trying to keep you from asking questions. I'm just hoping that we can ask the questions, recognizing that everyone has a lot to do, and that sometimes you may ask it of someone who it's someone else who's going to respond. So I think that's really more my intent there, is to keep the communication open and ask and say, gee, that's not what I intended, or this was a stronger response than I intended. And because I think that's how we get to a place where we have an open and respectful and productive conversation.
It's also worthwhile to consider word choice and phrasing if repeatedly people are not getting the attention you would like them to get. It's both sides that we need to work on.
I'm confused. Speaking specifically about my site, since you mentioned, how many?
Well, we were all copied on the email, so when you say you've been asking something for weeks.
Well, someone else copied everyone on an email that I sent. I specifically addressed the mayor, the treasurer, and the clerk, but that was a decision someone else made.
I'm sorry, I don't know who made the decision, but I'm just saying that when you start a thing like that, it ceases to feel like a question, it feels like an accusation. So it's a consideration, is all.
And understanding that that's not your intent. And I think we're learning how to work together and work with each other, and I think we have additional work to do.
Yes, but you also expressed that the mayor is a part-time position and that you cannot get information. I never even put a timeline on when these are just questions I was asking, but then.
And well, and I
So
guess,
we have a
you know,
full-time treasurer.
given that we're having this conversation, you indicated in your letter that you've been asking by a phone call, emails, etc., for 2 weeks and you hadn't received it. So that's I should have had this already. And so there was a response to say, there's a reason why you don't have it right away. The treasurer is not the one to give it to you, and it's the mayor who will give it to you, and you now have it.
And at our last meeting, the mayor did say that she was
She would
going
have
to be
it for
preparing
us.
it for us. So you were aware that that was a goal. I mean, maybe you
That was
didn't,
the
you didn't understand it from what she said, but it was something that was stated. I think someone's alarm was going off.
Yeah, I don't,
Okay.
it might be these things, it's on there.
Happy to have further conversation on that. I'm sorry that you don't feel that your communications are received the way you'd like them. My goal would be to enable us all to get to that place where we're having a conversation where we all feel heard and we're able to be productive. Okay to move on? Take that as a yes. Treasurer's report. There you go.
Good evening. This is a report of our finances as of February 28th. And in the general fund, we had $183,185.65. Our NICLAS general fund, we had $524,012.03. And the water fund, $137,007.07. In our NICLAS water fund, we had $153,517.09. In our sewer fund, we had $23,264.68. Our payroll clearing account held $79,520.43. Hardscrabble account held $42.76. Village Green account held $5,156.35. And our health insurance deductible account held $6,787.37. As for our reserve accounts, as of February 28th, the fire departments had $10,688.44. The police departments had $18,366.26. Our NICLAS USDA water reserve held $150,682.39. Our USDA water reserve held $7.93. Our highway reserve account held for $613.29. The snow reserve is holding $3,529.03. Tower reserve has a balance of $19,059.18. Our unemployment reserve is at $7,560.01. Our court reserve was $3,549.60, and our office reserve account held $1,046.52. As for our February's monthly expenses, the general fund had $196,229.02. The water fund had $96,929.05. Payroll clearing account had $3,418.96. And the sewer fund had $36,613.79 of expenses. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you very much. I don't know why I don't do it. I need a motion to accept the financial report.
So moved.
Thank you, Amy. Second. Mel Corca, thank you. All in favor?
Is it okay if I go get a glass of water?
Of course.
Sorry.
All right, so it's now my
I'm sorry.
reports. Watch in. We now have my reports. I will get started because this is reporting on something that's in your packet. So for the Red Hook Police Department, for the month of February, there were 272 incidents, 157 in the village of Red Hook, 106 in the town of Red Hook, and 11 in the village of Tivoli. There were 90 water tower security checks. There were 63 uniform traffic tickets, 25 in the village of Red Hook, 27 in the town of Red Hook, and 11 in the village of Tivoli. Parking tickets, there were 9 in the village of Tivoli and none in the village or town of Red Hook. There were 9 arrests, 4 in the village of Red Hook, 5 in the town of Red Hook, and none in the village of Tivoli. I added to your packet the fire company incidents. The fire company has a new software package that is required by the state, and so the information comes a little differently, which is great. I didn't give you a copy of the backup report, but it categorizes the incidents differently, which I actually find very helpful. Instead of numbers, like I had 300s and 400s and 500s, they label them public service alarm, public service citizen assist, medical illness, medical injury, medical other, rescue, hazardous situation, or no emergency. This was an extra that I gave you.
I put it in the book, I just don't know where to put it.
Got it. So in the month of January, there were 12 incidents in the village. There were 57 in the town. In the village, there were 2 alarms, 2 citizen assists, 5 medical illness, 1 medical injury, 1 medical other, 1 rescue. And so I think this will be a better way to share and understand what the incidents that are in the village.
And these are the ones that they respond to?
So these are what I have in the,
Yeah.
so the fire company and I are working on how to articulate that. What I have in the report says how many people responded, so I do have the ones that are listed as 0.
Okay.
I got it this afternoon, so I didn't really have a chance to figure out how to, so maybe I add another column that just says, you know, Red
How
Hook
many of
responded
these
to, or whatever.
They responded to
Something like
versus-
that.
That's huge that we get that data.
Yeah.
That's data for the taxpayers, so good.
And they're working on understanding their software to see all that they can do with that. Next item is the sewer operations report. And I'll just read through it. We've had a lot of conversations. You've had a couple of emails that have been sent out to the board with some specifics. And we also had an informational meeting last Thursday on the sewer when all of this was reported, but this is another forum in which to do that. So we had operational meetings on January 22nd, February 5th, and February 19th, where we reviewed sewer operations. Present were village engineer Robert Flores, sewer operator Les Kuhn, DPW foreman Jake Smith, sewer clerk Jen Kavanaugh, and myself, Mayor. Sewer operations. Odors. I just want to start by clarifying that odors, just because there are odors does not necessarily mean that there's an issue with the processing. So throughout February, we had a series of odor complaints. February 5th, 13th, and 20th from Red Hook Estates. February 15 and 27, and 2 on the 27th from Smith Street. 1 from Kent Road, which is in Red Hook Estates. Appears to have been a private septic issue, and we determined that, or it was determined that way because when the DPW foreman went to Kent Road, he could smell, but he went over to Cambridge and he couldn't smell a thing. And Cambridge is closer to the plant, and there was at least 1 resident who was there who also indicated that they were not able to smell anything. And there has been an issue with a private system on Kent Road in the past. Let's see, all the others appear to have come from our equalization tank. So last March in 2025, a system to pull the air from the EQ tank into the odor control system was installed. On Monday, March 2nd, it was discovered that the blower fan that operated that system failed. And just to clarify, the equalization tank, or the EQ tank, is where wastewater arrives. So it's raw sewage that's in there, and it goes from there into the plant, into the processing. And so it is
The stinky
odoriferous, yes. The operator thought they had confirmed that the blower fan was working, but it turns out it was not. A replacement fan was installed on Monday, March 2nd in the afternoon, and we have not received an odor complaint since that time. We do have a plan to, that fan is now on our regular maintenance plan. They're also looking to see if there's a more robust fan that might last longer. This one lasts just under a year. New York alert notifications and notice of violations. So on February 20th and 24th, there were New York alerts. Okay, I've actually written this wrong now that so there's a non-compliance event, which is when we know that we have not met our speedies permit, our permit of discharge. We are required to send a notice to DEC. That's called a non-compliance event. DEC is not required to, or they don't always issue a notice of violation. So notice of violation is issued from DEC to us. New York alerts, some non-compliance events qualify for New York alerts, which means that we, and this is the royal we, Jen does a lot of this work, input into the New York alert system that we have had a non-compliance event. And again, not every non-compliance event requires a New York alert. So on February 20th and 24th, there were New York alerts and non-compliance. So I will amend my reports. Submitted to DEC regarding partially treated discharge. February 20th was both Plant A and Plant B. February 24th was Plant 1B. B is the old one. In both cases, solids were lost through the clarifier, causing the sand filter to clog and overflow into the clear well, meaning that the full treatment didn't happen prior to discharge, though partial treatment did. DEC issued a letter, which is a notice of violation, so they issued a notice of violation. To simplify, the flow into the wastewater treatment plants was too much for the plants to handle. The design of the plant called for an EQ tank that is too small for proper operations. When the influent comes in all at once without the extra EQ tank capacity, there is nowhere else for the influent wastewater to go. It is impossible to predict when these extra flows are going to occur. The interim solution prior to the expansion of our EQ tank capacity is to set up a remote high-level event alarm system so the operator is alerted immediately to a high-level situation. A modem with cell service that will allow for internet access has been purchased and programmed. The full system with floats and sensors is scheduled to be installed and operational by 3.5.3.6. I can tell you that it was operational on 3.6. There were a couple of additions that need to be made, but the system is operational. The alarm system. Once the ground thaws, Archtop will install underground fiber to supply the internet for the future. And the reason why this alarm matters is the operators are on site a minimum of 4 hours every single day, 7 days a week. But the other 20 hours, something can happen that's not expected. This will allow the alarm to go off. The alarm is not an outside alarm. It goes through an app. So the neighbors will not hear the alarm. The people who need to, which is the sewer operator and the DPW foreman, I am also on that alarm. Not looking forward to it going off in the middle of the night. They are able to address the situation that, if not addressed quickly, would potentially lead to a non-compliance event. There's also a second temporary above-ground EQ tank waiting for back-ordered parts. Once these parts arrive, there will be additional temporary EQ capacity to help mitigate the extra flows. Until we are able to permanently add additional EQ tank capacity, we are operating with several temporary solutions. The alarm system should help to catch these overflow events faster. thus preventing partially treated discharges to occur. This plant design has little, if any, margin for error. In late February, we discovered that the New York State New York Alert System was not distributing all our submitted alerts. We reached out to New York Alert. Jen reached out to New York Alert, thank you very much, and they did discover that DEC had made an error. This is what DEC said. After a lot of digging, or New York Alert said, we have determined DEC made an error when creating the security role that had an incorrect setting preventing you from issuing alerts to the required group despite the template being set up properly. The setting has been corrected and it should work properly going forward. Regarding the collection system, with the unusually extended period of temperatures below freezing this winter, we found that some of the pipes from the septic tanks connecting to the force mains have frozen. The majority of these tanks are in parking lots, leaving less insulation from the ground to protect the pipes from freezing. Unfortunately, the design did not call for adequate insulation or depth to ensure these pipes wouldn't freeze. When the system called for the pump to come on, the wastewater was not able to go through the pipe, causing the alarm to go off. These tanks must be pumped out by the village waste hauler until the thaw. We are looking forward to warmer weather and will be considering options for solutions for next winter. Remaining repairs needed. There are some repairs that still need to be made, including replacing the return activated sludge valve in plant 1B on the west side. When an attempt was made to replace the valve, the surrounding pipe broke, so further work needs to be done to replace the pipe as well as the valve. The UVs have been repaired. There's one sensor that is not working correctly that needs to be fixed, but the UV system is working properly. And one of the generators needs a new switch. Engineering audit. Delaware Engineering has conducted an audit of sewer operations, and we are waiting for the final report. And then there's an update to the website. The wastewater treatment plant page under the sewer department on the village's website is updated regularly with new information. There is a lot of information and documents on this page. Deputy Mayor Caraval has completed a refresh of the page, reorganizing the data, making it easier to navigate and find information. So that is the lengthy report on the sewer operations. I was just going to report on a couple things on the report that talks about daily items. Does anybody have any questions on the piece that I just shared?
When you say one of the generators needs a new switch, is that one of the generators that we just did a resolution about, and will they fix it?
There's a generator for each of the wastewater treatment plants, and so for the old plant's generator needs a new switch. What we approved was a new inspector.
Okay.
So I don't know whether we just need to buy that switch and Jake puts it in, or if we need the other folks. That is out. Actual repair is not part of the contract. It's an overview and an inspection to make sure everything's going well.
Okay, thanks.
And then just a note that the average volume of sewage treated in the new plant was 25,000 gallons per day. The maximum was 34,000 a day. And the old plant, 1B, the average monthly was 8,000 gallons a day, and the maximum was 13. And the non-compliance event reports, now this is from January, so then there was a non-compliance event in January, and that report is in the back. That non-compliance event was an exceedance of total suspended solids, which is what TSS stands for, which is one of the criteria, one of the limits that we have. So this did not generate a New York alert. This, however, we were not compliant with our permitted level when tested. So that's, and you've got all the rest. You've got all the data in the back. Water Department report. This was an operational meeting. Same people were present. Jen Kavanaugh is also our water clerk. Water operations during the recent power outage. The generator at the water treatment plant did not go on. The new generator inspector has been out to look at the generator to see what is needed to ensure this won't happen again. The remote monitoring will also help. The SCADA, which is the Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System, which is a software system that controls the water operation, had a broken fiber that has been fixed. As reported at our February 23rd workshop meeting, there was a significant water leak on Willowbrook Lane. The DPW crew discovered that the leak was in the service line for 65 Willowbrook Lane, a line that was probably installed when the water main was installed up Route 9 in about the 1930s. The service line is 1,600 feet long and is likely leaking in more places than just what was found. The owner's been notified, curb stop has been turned off, there is no one currently living in the house. And there is also currently no water going to the house. There's been temporary repairs made so that should the property owner need water to their house, we can provide that. The plan is to create a new connection off the water main near the house. You all approved the contract with this, and I believe we're about to get that contract signed back and a check for the new tap. Total coliform was inadvertently not tested in the month of January. We have not had a positive coliform test, certainly in many years. A test was conducted February 5th, and those results were also negative.
Which we reported in January as well. My report last month included that.
There you go. And then just some other things as it relates to Village Hall. Archtop Fiber has made the connection to Village Hall. They made it in mid-February. All seems to be operating well. Next step is the water treatment plant. And then for the sewer plant, as mentioned, it will be installed in the ground when the ground is thawed. The parking lot lights, you'll note when you leave tonight that the lights of the municipal lot are not working. They were fixed, they were working, and the next morning they were off again. So there's definitely something it's either in the light cell or something in the wiring. And that again needs the ground to thaw before the electrician can do the exploration to determine what's wrong and then make the repairs. Sauk Hill Watershed Community Advisory Council, they had a very busy month. They met February 18th to review the upcoming presentation by Eli Drucker of Bard College. They presented their database to the team, and that database was then presented in a bigger event on February 24th at the Elmendorf Inn. This data is, it includes, let's see, it's developed with funding from Hudson River Foundation and includes all type of data that goes back to the 1920s. The database will be housed on Bard College servers. The plan is for continued input of new data. There's a link on the Sauk Hill Watershed Community website. Data regarding the water testing from the site at Benner Road, which is downstream from the wastewater treatment plant discharge, actually starts in 1975. I have a meeting later this month to discuss with Eli Drucker how to access this data correctly so we can see the impacts from the plants over time, and I look forward to sharing that with you all. So the event on February 24th was well attended. Karen Schneller McDonald, who's been the chair of the Sauk Hill Watershed Community since it started 10 years ago, and she is stepping down as chair, and she was honored for her service, and I was honored to be able to present a proclamation for her work and her leadership. Our next meeting, actually the next meeting was last week, which I'll report on at our next meeting. Climate Smart Community Task Force. We were scheduled to meet February 26th, but that had to be canceled because the majority of the team couldn't make it. Betsy Brower has resigned from this committee, and the next meeting is in the process of being scheduled. Public Spaces Committee has not met since my last report due to holiday schedules. The next meeting is March 16th, and Barbara Westerman has resigned from the committee. I did meet with Betsy Brower on February 25th in preparation for the next meeting. We discussed possible funding sources and approaches. We also discussed a possible summer internship for a Bard student working on the park. We discussed the need for a document reflecting the goals and objectives for the project. Dutchess County Transportation Council, I am one of the rural municipalities representative on the Dutchess County Transportation Council Planning Committee. We met virtually February 25th. The deck of what they presented is on their website. Happy to share that. Something I find important is the safety action plan is in the final stages. And the annual traffic count program will be starting soon. The 2025 counts will be added to the Dutchess County Transportation Council website in March. Lots of really good information on traffic in that. Community engagement, February 5th, I attended an open house for professional computer associates located at 2401 South Broadway for their celebration of their new owners and new name, which is Synergex. February 7th, I attended the fire company's installation dinner, where Justice Jonas Triebwasser swore in the new officers for 2026. February 15th, I went to the State of the Hudson Valley speech by Congressmember Pat Ryan at the Family Partnership Center, and February 24th, I was there for the Sauk Hill Watershed Community event at the Almond Grove. And that's it for me.
Okay. Red Hook Together, the group meeting is organized by the Bard Center for Civic Engagement and meets every first Thursday of the month. On Thursday, March 5th, the group of Red Hook Together met in person at the Grove, a newly renovated restaurant and bar at the Red Hook Golf Club. The conversation focused on hearing about attendees' upcoming events and programs, as well as discussing funding opportunities, such as celebrating the community center's recent NY Bricks grant and Dutchess County MIG grant. Chris Munn from our county legislator, District 20, talked about the county budget and his upcoming discussions, around the county budget, sorry. Panda TV is looking for furnishing donations for its nearly completed studio. If you have a club, chairs, rugs, or other furnishings in good condition, consider giving them a new career in show business. Also exciting, Panda TV now has a 24/7 programming available on its live stream app through Spectrum Cable Channel 1303 or through your internet browser. And I have links in my online report if anyone's interested, but you can also just Google it. Town of Red Hook Comprehensive Plan. The town committee meets monthly from 7:30 to 9 p.m. on the fourth Tuesday at Town Hall. The last meeting was February 24th. Consultants are working with the committee to close out the visioning process and are beginning to gather the key goals and topics raised during those sessions. Those larger goals will be presented as strategies/policies for further engagement at the upcoming second workshop in the spring, which is still to be scheduled. And I included in my report just some of the metrics of how many people have been engaging with the process so far, which is nice. They've been doing a lot of work and outreach. Yes?
Just a question about timing. So the larger goals, the strategies and policies will be presented coming up in the spring. Mm-hmm. And then after that?
So the visioning is like to sort of get those bigger topics, and then the idea of like sort of getting people to have input on what they think those policies and sort of the smaller digging down into the solution kind of things of what people want to see. Not so specific, but like that kind of
Is there
next year.
Is there a schedule for when they expect the actual comprehensive plan to be a draft document?
You know, I don't know that actually. They do have some of their schedule. There is like so if you go to the comp plan site, which I have my link, they do have like a schedule and it's got like a lot of boxes, you know, but it's slightly, I'm sure the consultants have like a date that they're going for. I don't know it off the top of my head.
It's not short.
No, I'm sure.
It's like multiple months out.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But they're getting a lot of engagement, which is great. And then if you feel like you haven't engaged with this process, there's going to be more, you know, because it's really just the big...
More opportunities.
Yeah, the big vision stuff that's sort of... Okay, anyway.
It's nice to see them listed this way.
Good. I did lift it from one of Eric Pearson's emails, but with permission, so I didn't collect that data. Town of Red Hook Community Preservation Fund, the balance as of 2/10/2026 is $3,692,022.66. The Village of Red Hook Communications. This month, the mayor and I made progress on a few ongoing projects. The communication survey online has been posted on the homepage under Government News. Questions range from what methods of communications work well, which could be improved, and which improvements should be budget priorities. The updated wastewater treatment plant operations page was relaunched on Wednesday, March 4th. The aim was to streamline information and add contextualizing information to the reports and updates listed on the page. We also improved the layout, implementing a jump link index at the top of the page so users are able to navigate directly to each heading. I also posted a sign-up tutorial to the New York Alert System, which was first created by Sewer Clerk Jen Kavanaugh and shared by Mayor Karen Smythe via email. You can locate the page under the Stay Informed heading on the website.
This may not, given that you're talking communications, I just want to take the opportunity, Fran, you had a question about the voucher for the ad for the Red Hook Chamber.
Yes.
I can't remember, a document of some sort that's going to be both printed and online. And just to clarify what that is, so it falls under the digital communications.
Mary Beth sent me all, so I'm good.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Yeah, it's under the planning and zoning part, but don't worry.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
sorry.
totally fine. It applies to communications too, because it's meant to serve that department.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Village and zoning review. On February 9th, the village board voted to send the North Broadway Corridor Land Use and Zoning Study Draft to Dutchess County Department of Planning, Village of Red Hook Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals to be reviewed. Sorry, there's the end there. To be reviewed for comments within 30 days. The public comment period was also extended to March 9th. Planning, Zoning, and Building Department. This past month, with the permission of the mayor, I've been working with the planning clerk, Laura Hart, to prepare a guide for businesses that are opening a village location. It was a concept that the mayor and I discussed years ago with the business owner, Lauren Cunningham Hausman, and was seconded recently by the Chamber of Commerce Director, Colin Stark. The guide will attempt to explain common requirements and processes such as fire inspections and change of use, etc. And now on to the Village of Red Hook Building Department monthly trustee report. Building permits issued during the month of February: 2 certificates of occupancy and temporary certificates of occupancy, both 0. Certificates of compliance: 2. Municipal searches: 2. Orders to remedy, stop work orders, do not occupy notices, and court appearances are all 0. There were 2 complaints, one for an open sign blinking at 31 to 35 West Market Street, which was remedied, and number 2 was a propane tank snow complaint at the senior housing, which is also remedied. There were 4 fire inspections, and the planning board actions at the February 12th meeting were signage approved, granted to HV Chiropractic at 35 Firehouse Lane, site plan and public hearing for 87 East Market Street tabled to March 12th, 2026, site plan for 31 East Market Street tabled to March 12th, 2026, and site plan lighting proposal for Red Hook Central School District tabled to March 12th, 2026.
And just to clarify, there wasn't going to be a quorum for March 12th, so they've moved the meeting to March 16th.
And that's not an easy thing to do, I've learned, because there's so many schedules you have to work with. Zoning Board of Appeals, no February meeting due to no agenda. And then the total income to the Village Building Department for the month of February 2026 was $896.72. Thank you everyone for putting up with my tired voice.
Okay.
Thank you for delivering.
Fran?
Yes, thank you. So, very quickly for me, I will only point out changes since my last report. Please see the spreadsheet for materials management, cost and expenses. Revenue in the month of February, we have $4,472. Revenue is made up of tax sold and Tivoli garbage service, which we provide at the rate of $682.50 a week. For expenses, we have $1,641.67. It's late. And for scrap income for this month, for the month of February, we had $478.50 since the program's inception in September 2007. Donations have yielded a total of $59,472.84. Proceeds from the program go towards the purchase of tools and equipment for Public Works Department. Residents and business interested in donating metal may contact the village clerk. As always, although we're almost out of this, no all-night street parking is permitted in the village from November 1st to March 31st. Vehicles parked on the streets between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. may be ticketed and towed at the owner's expense. Also, a reminder to please join the village food waste collection program made possible in part by a composting grant from Dutchess County. Appreciation, which I always say is appreciation for the mayor, and grateful to Jake and Team DPW for their hard work keeping our roads clear and safe during this punishing winter. Also, thank you for this thrilling photo. And moving on to Village Green. Village Green had no meetings in the month of February. They have updated their mission statement. I should have had a design for their canvassing postcard. I didn't get it printed today, but if you are open to that, I can email that to you. They would like to have those printed out for distribution when they canvass this weekend, so I would appreciate it if you take a look and get back to me with your thoughts.
Okay, you did or didn't send it today?
No, I didn't send it. They sent it to me.
Gotcha.
I didn't have a chance
Okay.
to print out for you.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Okay, thanks. Yes, and then village food waste. I have a report for the county that I need to get to the mayor, and that is coming. But for right now, I have some updated numbers. The hauler, Laughing Fox Farm, was excited to note that we have had an uptick in use since the mayor hosted the kickoff event in January. Partnering with the village helps us all achieve our sustainability goals. So as you encounter residents, please encourage them to use the program. Since the program began, since hauling began on September 1st, 2025, we have diverted roughly 2,606 pounds of food waste from landfill. That is officially a US ton, which is 2,000 pounds. It's different. Metric ton is different, in case you wanted to know. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Amy?
So for water and utility billing, in the month of February, Village Water Department treated a total of 6,290,437 gallons, with an average of 209,681 gallons per day. Average residual free chlorine level at the point of entry was 1.26 milligrams per liter of water. I usually put in a reminder that a liter is 1,000 milligrams. 2 samples were taken for testing on February 5th, which I reported last time. They came back clear of both E. coli and fecal coliform. A 3rd sample was taken February 19th at a different location. That also came back negative for all the poop. Project reports. I participated in a personnel policy development meeting with the mayor and payroll clerk Irene Holzapfel. My assignment is to draft 2 policies, one about the use of municipal computers, internet, and tech security, and the second is related to personnel files and archival requirements as set by laws done by the New York State Library and Archives. School speed zone. I submitted the packet to the email address supplied by Mr. LaRose and received an initial reply. The request was submitted to the Regional Traffic and Safety Group. I emailed them, didn't hear anything back, so I called, and the village's request is in the pile. But they are going to give me the name of the specific person to call again soon. Grants. Ty and Bond were able to edit the proposal for a prioritized plan to improve pedestrian experience in the village center to fit a smaller budget. As a reminder, this change was necessary since the Greenway Compact Grant Committee requested the village reapply, but limit the project to planning only. This means that the village's match needs to be in cash, not labor. In keeping with the board vote to have Karen submit the Greenway Compact Grant for this project, which was in the winter, November, I think. I've been doing the light editing required from our original application. The portal opens on March 23rd. The committee will notify recipients in June whether or not they are receiving funding. Finally, I wrote the language access grant extension explanation as requested by the mayor, who submitted it to the community investment officer of the county for their consideration. The extension will allow the village to use the balance of the language access grant funds to improve the signage, make it more accessible and bilingual at the Prince Street entrance, and establish a public notice board as well. Events, with the mayor and Lieutenant Hillenbrand, I met with the Chamber of Commerce for discussion of their plan to be the sponsoring organization for the Celebration of Lights Parade in December. It's truly delightful to meet with an organization so far in advance of an event. The mayor and I also met with a group of youth who shared their enterprising ideas on raising money to help animals. I connected them with the coordinator of Apple Blossom Day this year and also with the Methodist Church Food Pantry to support their plans. I hope everyone looks for their table at Apple Blossom and buys lemonade or some youth-made animal-themed art. They brought samples. You don't want to miss out. Yeah, you won't regret it. Finally, I reached out to Dave Wright, the coordinator for the Rotary's Apple Blossom Day, to schedule a meeting so that we can get the process going. And that is it for me.
I think that the
Oh, the utility bills. So sorry. In February, the village issued $303.52 in utility bills. Penalties and finance charges issued for late bills came to $930.66. Payments received equals $75,887.47, which makes the outstanding amount as of March 2nd, $35,594.89. There were no bill adjustments. Thank you, Jen.
Okay. Last but not least, you're up, Tony.
Well, last to least.
Not the last thing, however.
Yeah,
One more thing.
I'll just read it quickly. Pursuant to an appointment of Mayor Smythe, I attended a meeting of the Red Hook Library Board, and there were board members present, and they were very welcoming. Following approval of the January 15th meeting minutes, the board discussed the Sustainable Library Certification status, which includes improvements to the library structure, board diversity, analysis of the library's financial position and controls, and continuing education opportunities and outreach to minorities. They're involved in a lot of things. They approved a resolution to increase the current tax levy to be voted on at the May 2026 school district election, and reviewed the comparative use of library programs from January of last year to January of this year. Among the programs and activities discussed were the Wonder Books collection, sensory counting tiles, a birth-centered library launch at Northern Dutchess Hospital, future bushcraft workshops. Anybody know what bushcraft workshops are?
Yeah.
What they asked me is, do you watch, if you ever watch Naked and Afraid? I conceded that I had, but this is more like Boy Scouts.
This is like the crafts and wilderness stuff.
And a bingo side proposal, which looked to me like a combination of bingo and exercise for senior citizens. And the meeting convened at 6:30 p.m. and ended at 8 p.m. And next meeting is March 9th at 6:30.
Thank you.
What did I say?
9.
March 19th.
Tonight. So the last item that I gave to you was a budget adjustment for general water and sewer funds. You should all have that. Happy to go through in detail or answer any questions that you may have. I will say that the sewer fund reflects the numbers that were on the detailed chart, the detailed Excel spreadsheet that I shared with you. Let me know how you'd like me to handle. I guess probably
Snow removal is pain.
snow removal has been brutal. Very brutal. We had 2 general business district clearings, and I do give DPW foreman Jake enormous credit for jumping on it right away, and he was right, because in December, if we hadn't cleared out, it would have just been so much worse, because it was so cold for so long. And it makes such a difference for safety and just the ability to get around, parking, because the snow isn't fully off the road. And then of course we had the big storm in the end of January that Jake said is that in his experience is the most snow and the most efficient, I will say, that they have removed in a clearing. And he's been with the village a long time.
There's a video of them clearing the business district that I think that you should put in your newsletter.
Yeah, you should.
Because it's so impressive.
Okay. Where is it?
It's in my text messages, but I can forward it to you.
Well, send it to me, we'll put it on the website.
Fran, you
It's really cool. It's cool.
you
You'll get a lot of eyeballs.
Okay.
you mentioned the exciting photo. That's exactly what that's from.
Yeah, I know, I have the video too.
I'll make
We'll
it
give you the
amazing.
credit. We'll give you the credit.
It's Jake's
I-
work, so we-
People
yeah.
love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's I mean
Machinery.
it's also
Yeah.
it was very, very well planned, and that is credit to our DPW foreman. He is.
Anytime you have videos, just send them over to us.
Got it.
No.
The one thing probably the biggest thing in the general fund that you'll note, if you look, there's grants from local government. That's actually for the EV police car. Those are the receipts that we didn't, what's the word I'm looking for? We didn't accrue for them in last year's budget, so therefore it came in this year, and so we get to account for it this year, which allows, so we are in the process of doing 2 audits, year ending 2023 and year ending 2024. We still have year ending 2025, so that's what I put the 20,000 in there for under audit or auditor, is because that will get us up to date, and then we will be at once a year doing an audit. And then the biggest thing in there is the snow.
The tipping fees line is just the Village of Red Hook, because Tivoli Garbage has their tipping fees in it. Is
To
that what
be
I'm
honest,
understanding?
I need to clarify what's in, because I was trying to figure out the Tivoli Garbage, and then there is tipping fees in there,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if they separate everything.
Okay.
Yeah, so it does, Jen's saying it does go in together, so I'm not, it's possible that the original tipping fees that are in the Tivoli Garbage line are when they were doing Tivoli Garbage on a different day.
A different day.
Okay.
That
And
makes
so
sense.
now it's probably all combined.
Okay, thanks.
But it also triggered for me that we shortly will need to do a review of how it's going and the cost for our renewal contract for next year. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? I'll take a motion. This would be resolution number 8.
Snowman. So moved.
Wait, I don't,
You have a question? Go ahead.
no, I just haven't, this was not in our heads,
No,
so I just
I
want to
know.
read through this really quickly.
I wanted to make sure I got all of the updated
Appreciate
invoices that Mary Beth put in.
it. Okay,
I'll take a second.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Sorry, I'm super late. I was only reminded by the, there's an addition in our binders about the trustee training budget line. So I feel free to tell me if this is not appropriate. I just wondered if if you are planning at some point to have the scholarship funding that I received from NICOM into the training budget.
I believe I did that already. I will look at it again and get back to you, because the way it works is the revenue shows up as a revenue line, and then the expense shows up in the expense line.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's in there already, but I will double check, and I'll confirm directly with you, and I'll also confirm at our next meeting. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great, thank you. That's it, I'll take them, oh no, oh my God. We do actually have an executive session, it will be quick. I do not expect any business following executive session. So I will take a motion to go into executive session to discuss, for a discussion regarding pending litigation against the village.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second. Oh, no, good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.